Chapter 897. Ning Cheng pointed to the rules above and said, Article 61 of the Star Stepping Towers lease. Before the guest checks out or owes the rent, the right to use the room belongs to the guest. Under no special circumstances, the guest has the first right to renew the lease. Article 75 states that if the rest stop makes rude demands on the guest can protest in their own way. This guy made 2 rules in a row, so I protested in my own way. My way is simple, it's just a slap in the face. By the way, this guy told me about this rule. Otherwise, I really wouldn't have known about these 2 rules. My guess is that he knowingly violated it, so he deserved a beating. The middle-aged male cultivator frowned when he heard Ning Cheng's words. He stared at the guy coldly and asked, "What the hell is going on?" Xin Xiu had seen this middle-aged male cultivator before and knew that he was a deacon of the Star Stepping Tower. She felt anxious and didn't wait for the guy to answer. She took the initiative to speak up. "I wanted to renew the lease, but he didn't allow me to. That's why this happened." This guy was just a middle-stage eternal cultivator. Xin Xiu had lived here for more than half a year with a wounded person. He naturally knew that Xin Xiu wasn't a rogue cultivator who could be bullied at will. But he didn't expect that Ning Cheng and Xin Xiu would come out together, dare to beat him, and even make things worse. The guy stammered, but the middle-aged male cultivator already understood what was going on. It seems that this man and woman were telling the truth. But even if it was true, he wouldn't let it go so easily since they dared to beat up a guy in the Star Stepping Tower. My Star Stepping Tower has been in Heaven Essence Sacred City for tens of thousands of years, and we have always put our credibility first. As for the renewal of the lease, as long as you don't owe the rent, there won't be any problems. However, guests can use their own way, but it doesn't mean that you can hit people in my Star Stepping Tower. The middle-aged male cultivator's tone suddenly turned cold, and a sharp murderous intent rushed towards Ning Cheng and Xin Xiu. Xin Xiu had low cultivation, so when this murderous intent invaded her, she couldn't help but shiver. Ning Cheng raised his hand and waved away the murderous intent. He then spoke with a similarly cold tone, "So, only your Star Stepping Towers guy is allowed to hit us, and we're not allowed to fight back. My Star Stepping Towers guy hit you?" The middle-aged male cultivator frowned suddenly. He had a hunch that this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed. Xin Xiu quickly said, "Yes, I'm here to renew the lease." Not only did this guy not allow me to renew the lease, he even scolded me and slapped me. Seeing the middle-aged male cultivator's fierce gaze sweep over, the shop assistant couldn't help but shiver. He simply couldn't deny this kind of thing. There were many people in the hall, and could easily find witnesses. "Deacon Huang, yes, yes." The shop assistant stuttered for a long time, but he couldn't say anything. Deacon Huang, the middle-aged male cultivator, the brows, to Def Deg Stepping Cheng. Dito Saint Def Saint, the Saint, Tower Master. Cheng and Dong. To of to Saint, Stepping Saint, Saint Star Saint Tutu. 2. Cheng Tutu to Saint Tu of Minister, to Cheng Ling King, Saint. Sacred Sun Ji glanced at Ning Cheng and Xin Xiu before speaking to Deacon Huang. "Deacon Huang, if you want to blame someone, then blame me. This fellow is just helping me." Tian. 2. Star, to Stepping, Room, I. Now that I'm back in Heaven Essence Sacred City, I want to stay in this room again. Deacon Huang instantly understood that the troublemaking man and woman must have stayed in the First Region's 6th room. Since the man didn't allow the female cultivator to renew the lease, it most likely meant that her lease was up and the man wanted to give up the room to Ji Pingzhong. Ji Pingzhong was the 4th-ranked powerhouse among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Not only did he have outstanding strength, but he also had a powerful force behind him. As a small deacon, he couldn't afford to offend him. Thinking of this, Deacon Huang turned his gaze to Ning Cheng. This guest, if you are willing to move out of the first region's 6th room, I will refund you double the previous rent. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He knew that he couldn't stay here anymore. He could beat up a man, but if he fought with a deacon here, he wouldn't be able to leave. This Deacon Huang definitely didn't know that Xian Xiu had stayed here for more than half a year. Let's see his face when he refunded double the rent. Ning Cheng didn't continue to talk about renewing the lease. Instead, he directly said, "Okay, we can return it now. We can move out tomorrow. Give them a refund of double the spirit crystals. Put it on my head." Deacon Huang shouted at the man. The man spoke up with a trembling voice, "She's been here for more than half a year. Double the spirit crystals means more than 5 million. What?" Deacon Huang almost vomited blood. More than 5 million spirit crystals. Even he would suffer a huge loss. What's more, the Grand Essence Great Meet was about to begin, which meant that all kinds of good things would pour into the sacred city. He needed a lot of spirit crystals. How could he give away so many at once? Deacon Huang really wanted Ji Pingzhong to stand up and say that he would pay for these spirit crystals. However, Ji Pingzhong didn't even bother to move. Apparently, he didn't want to. Or, he didn't put Deacon Huang in his eyes at all. "This Dao friend, you've been staying here for too long. I can only refund you 10 days worth of rent. What do you think?" Even if it meant slapping his own face, Deacon Huang wouldn't agree to pay Ning Cheng 5 million spirit crystals. Ning Cheng sneered, "It looks like the Star Stepping Tower only bullies its guests. Promises are like farts. It's a place that puts on airs. If you don't have the ability to do it, then don't hang up a rule to disgust people." Ning Cheng couldn't afford to eat the loss in front of him. Therefore, he decided to leave this place with Xian Xiu and Wu Qihong. One day in the future, he would come back to take revenge. This Deacon Huang had long been unhappy with Ning Cheng. Now that Ning Cheng showed such impoliteness, he made up his mind to teach Ning Cheng a lesson. But before he could even open his mouth to teach Ning Cheng a lesson, a cold voice appeared in the hall. "My Star Stepping Tower has always put the customers first, and we always aim to make our guests feel at home. We never bully our customers or make careless promises. Since the Star Stepping Tower has set up this rule, it is no different from the laws of the country. As long as you fulfill the rent obligation, any customer here will enjoy the rights stipulated in the rules." Ning Cheng froze. Why did this sentence sound so familiar? He even felt like he was talking to an earthling. Except for Earth, the word law had always been replaced by law in the places he had been to. Not only that, but even the words customers, obligations, and rights sounded both familiar and strange at the same time. But these thoughts quickly disappeared from Ning Cheng's mind. He then saw a black-robed woman with a veil over her face suddenly appear in the hall. But to Ning Cheng's horror, he couldn't see this black-robed woman's cultivation at all. This woman's aura was even more terrifying than Man Huishan's. It could even be described as vast as the sea. A rest stop unexpectedly had such a terrifying expert. Ning Cheng felt sure that if this woman wanted to kill him, she could even lift her little finger. "May I ask who this senior is?" In the face of such a powerhouse, Ning Cheng didn't dare to make the slightest mistake. The black-robed woman spoke with a calm voice, "My surname is Nye, and I own this rest stop. Tell me about the conflict just now in detail." Ning Cheng didn't exaggerate or downplay it. Instead, he recounted everything that had happened just now. After the black-robed woman heard Ning Cheng's words, she glanced at Deacon Huang and the shop assistant with cold eyes and said in a cold tone, "Get out of the Star Stepping Tower now. You will no longer be my Star Stepping Tower's people in the future." After that, she turned to another shop assistant and said, "Help these two customers with the rental renewal procedures. Everything will be done according to the rules." Ning Cheng didn't expect things to be so simple. Deacon Huang and the shop assistant, who had been beaten by him, didn't even dare to say half a word and quickly withdrew from the rest stop. Saint Sun Ji frowned slightly before stepping forward and speaking with cupped fists. Desolate Spirit Palace's Ji Pingzhong greets Senior Nye. What's the matter? The black-robed woman's tone softened a bit. Ji Pingzhong felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Facing the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, a rest stop's owner shouldn't speak in such a flat tone, not to mention someone from the Desolate Spirit Palace. I want to stay in the Star Stepping Tower's 1st Region's 6th room. Without waiting for Lieutenant General Ji Pingzhong to finish, the black-robed woman spoke up with a calm voice, since you want to check in, go to the counter to go through the formalities. You don't have to tell me about this kind of thing. Ji Pingzhong took in a deep breath and looked at Ning Cheng with a slightly stiff tone. The 1st Region's 6th room is the room they want to renew. When Ning Cheng explained the reason, he didn't drag Ji Pingzhong into it. He understood that the smaller the forces involved, the more beneficial it would be for him. Now that Ji Pingzhong spoke those words, the black-robed woman instantly understood why Deacon Huan wanted Ning Cheng to check out. She then looked at Ji Pingzhong, and the calmness in her eyes disappeared without a trace. Her tone turned cold once again. Get lost. No one can drive away my Star Stepping Tower's guest. Ji Pingzhong's expression changed. No one had ever dared to tell him to get lost in front of him. His face turned pale, and he cupped his hands towards the black-robed woman again. I will bring Senior's words back to my Desolate Spirit Palace. The black-robed woman stared at Ji Pingzhong coldly. If you don't get lost, I will cripple your legs. Ji Pingzhong didn't dare to continue and walked out of the Star Stepping Tower with a livid face. Ning Cheng was just about to thank the black-robed woman when he found that the black-robed woman had already disappeared without a trace. Even he didn't know when this black-robed woman disappeared. The surrounding space didn't fluctuate at all. It was as if the air had disappeared. At this moment, Ning Cheng didn't want to live here anymore. This black-robed woman was too terrifying. If he did something in the room, could he hide it from this woman? He looked back and saw that Xi and Xiao had already renewed the lease for 2 months. He had no choice but to say, let's go up. If there's nothing else, try not to come out. After returning to his room, Ning Cheng sat quietly for a long time. He even wondered if this woman surnamed Nye came from Earth like him. However, that female cultivator's terrifying strength dispelled his doubts. Just in case, Ning Cheng repeatedly set up dozens of restrictions in his room and then arranged more than a dozen array formations. Only then did he calm down a little. Nevertheless, he didn't intend to expose any information about the mysterious yellow bead in his room. There was still a month before the great meet, and he still had a lot of things to do. In addition to cracking Pill Sage Min Kong's bracelet, he also had a strand of spiritual consciousness that didn't belong to him in his sea of consciousness. He had to get rid of this strand of spiritual consciousness. Chapter 898. Ding Dang. A slight crisp sound rang out, and Ning Cheng felt happy. He had finally managed to open Pill Sage Min Kong's bracelet. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell into the spacious bracelet, and when he saw what was inside, he suddenly felt dumbfounded. He had thought that Min Kong, as a top-grade Tao Essence Pill Sage, would have mountains of spirit crystals in his storage bracelet. Moreover, there were even rows of divine herb gardens, and even rows of Tao fruit trees filled with Tao fruits. But the truth was that Pill Sage Min Kong's bracelet didn't contain a single Tao fruit tree, not a single Tao fruit tree, or even the worst divine grass. There were also very few spirit crystals, not even as many as he had. Ning Cheng estimated that it wouldn't exceed 10 million at most. There was also a pile of medicinal pills, but all of them were waste pills. As for weapons, materials, and other things, Ning Cheng didn't see any of them. Apart from less than 10 million spirit crystals and piles of waste pills, Ning Cheng only saw a pile of jade strips scattered to the side. No, Ning Cheng grabbed the bracelet in his hand and immediately understood what was going on. No matter how poor Pill Sage Min Kong was, he wouldn't have so few things. This bracelet wasn't where Pil Sage Min Kong stored his treasures. Pil Sage Min Kong definitely had another storage item, just like his true spirit world or the mysterious yellow bead hidden in his sea of consciousness. Such a storage treasure most likely resided in the deepest part of Pil Sage Min Kong's sea of consciousness. It's just that Ning Cheng respected Pil Sage Min Kong and didn't touch Pil Sage Min Kong's body. Ning Cheng sighed. It seemed that he didn't have this opportunity. Or perhaps Pil Sage Min Kong's bracelet was just a cover. Using a ring was much more convenient than a bracelet. Apart from some female cultivators who used bracelets, few people would willingly use bracelets. These old demons, who had lived for countless years, were truly astute. A dead person's belongings wouldn't fall into the hands of others. Maybe Pil Sage Min Kong didn't even die, and his essence spirit escaped with the real storage device. After putting the spirit crystals in the storage bracelet into his ring, Ning Cheng took out the pile of jade strips. Picking up the first jade strip, Ning Cheng saw the steps to synthesize a pill recipe in Alchemy Insights. Although he admired Pil Sage Min Kong's learning attitude, Ning Cheng didn't have the slightest interest in such things. With just a quick glance, he tossed the jade slip aside and picked up the second jade slip. The second jade slip was the same as the first jade slip, it was still Alchemy Insights and Experiences. The third, the fourth, originally, Ning Cheng was looking at one of them before throwing them away, but when he saw the 60th one, he immediately felt that something was wrong. Pil Sage Min Kong's pill refining deduction and understanding were all about a single pill recipe. Moreover, it was a pill recipe that could strengthen one's sea of consciousness. Although this jade strip didn't mention anything about divine chalcedony, Ning Cheng understood that this pill recipe had something to do with divine chalcedony. Since it was related to divine chalcedony, it was definitely an elixir recipe similar to the spirit essence pill. Ning Cheng had heard from Qi Shixingsing that the pill recipe for the spirit essence pill had long since disappeared. After Ning Cheng obtained the divine chalcedony, he planned to spend some time to deduce the pill recipe for the spirit essence pill. But he didn't expect that Pil Sage Min Kong would help him deduce the pill recipe here. In the face of this pill recipe that he urgently needed, Ning Cheng immediately immersed himself in it. Even his guard against the black-clothed woman had lowered a lot. In fact, he didn't need to be on guard against her. The black-clothed woman didn't put Ning Cheng in her eyes at all, let alone spying on him in secret. Time passed by in a hurry, and Ning Cheng's secluded room remained deathly silent without any movement. It was already the 21st day since Ning Cheng moved in, and Xin Xiu grew more and more anxious. Previously, Ning Cheng had given Wu Qihong an extreme purging wood essence pill, which allowed Wu Qihong's vitality to grow a lot stronger. After a few days of consumption, Wu Qihong's vitality started to collapse once again. Xin Xiu also understood that without condensing her essence spirit and repairing her sea of consciousness, even if she had more extreme purging wood essence pills, her junior apprentice brother would still die. It's just that after Ning Cheng moved in, the room fell into complete silence. No matter how anxious she felt, she didn't dare to touch the restrictions outside Ning Cheng's door. Inside the room, Ning Cheng grew more and more surprised. Pil Sage Min Kong's divine chalcedony pill recipe wasn't perfect. There were several key points that didn't have perfect solutions. However, Ning Cheng found a solution based on Pil Sage Min Kong's deduction. The main spiritual item was naturally divine chalcedony, while the main divine grasses were refining cloud vine, meteor fantasy fruit, devil cloth grass, 10,000 black flame petals, and 163 auxiliary divine grasses. The quantity of the various divine grasses varied. Moreover, refining this kind of pill also had very strict requirements for pill fire and spiritual consciousness. Apart from the relatively precious divine chalcedony, only the 10,000 black flame petals were high-grade divine grasses. The rest could only be regarded as ordinary divine grasses, and even some merchant houses could sell them. Ning Cheng had a lot of divine chalcedony, and he had also obtained 200 stalks of the 10,000 black flame petals from Pil Sage Min Kong's spiritual medicine garden. The most crucial part of deducing the pill recipe was the 10,000 black flame petals. The 10,000 black flame petals were a divine grasses with a blazing light attribute. Spiritual consciousness, on the other hand, was generally invisible and intangible. Therefore, divine grasses like the 10,000 black flame petals would never interact with one's sea of consciousness or spiritual consciousness. However, the divine Chalcedony's inattributed energy was too strong. If one didn't use the 10,000 black flame petals, not only would it not work, but it would also burn one's sea of consciousness. There was a slight difference between the deductions and the actual conclusions. Even if Ning Cheng had the mysterious yellow bead and cultivated the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method, he couldn't directly use the deductions. Ning Cheng threw away one batch of waste pills after another, but he didn't feel any heartache at all. Every time he threw away a batch of medicinal pills, the subsequent batch of medicinal pills would become more perfect. He had a lot of divine grasses and more than 100 divine chalcedony. Once a pill recipe that could increase one's spiritual consciousness and sea of consciousness and even repair one's spiritual consciousness was deduced, its value would be immeasurable. After wasting the 11th batch of medicinal pills, Ning Cheng finally succeeded. The 12th batch of medicinal pills hadn't come out yet, but the faint fragrance coming from it shook his sea of consciousness. The trace of foreign spiritual consciousness that originally lay across Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness also showed a faint tendency to separate. Ning Cheng felt happy. He didn't expect that the newly deduced medicinal pills would have such an effect. The surprise almost caused Ning Cheng to waste the 12th batch of medicinal pills. Thanks to his powerful spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng persisted and finally succeeded in refining 8 medicinal pills. Ning Cheng managed to refine 8 medicinal pills in his first batch. Although he didn't get any top-quality ones, he was still satisfied with the results. Once he expelled the trace of foreign spiritual consciousness from his sea of consciousness, his sea of consciousness would become even purer, allowing him to refine these medicinal pills with even better results. 8 white, almost transparent medicinal pills lay in Ning Cheng's palm, giving off a faint fragrance. Ning Cheng couldn't help but take in a deep breath. He carefully put away the medicinal pills, took one out, and threw it into his mouth. The medicinal pill didn't turn into a medicinal liquid when it entered his mouth. Instead, it turned into a trace of aura that penetrated into his sea of consciousness. Ning Cheng didn't cultivate at all, but he could clearly feel his spiritual consciousness growing stronger and his sea of consciousness slowly expanding. Ning Cheng, who was still pleasantly surprised, didn't even have time to feel the power of this medicinal pill when the trace of foreign spiritual consciousness in his sea of consciousness suddenly trembled and stripped away from his original spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng felt overjoyed and directly sent out a thought to grab it. The next moment, the foreign spiritual consciousness appeared in his hand. As he threw out a celestial river flame, the foreign spiritual consciousness made a slight kacha sound before disappearing without a trace. Dispelling the foreign spiritual consciousness in his sea of consciousness, Ning Cheng took in a deep breath. Since he cast the dark nether devouring spirit cultivation method and swallowed a trace of the opponent's spiritual consciousness, his sea of consciousness had never felt so comfortable. According to the method of the dark nether devouring spirit scroll, after he swallowed the opponent's spiritual consciousness, he should have refined the opponent's spiritual consciousness. However, he didn't do so, so his sea of consciousness had always felt a little uncomfortable. Now, he used this newly deduced elixir to directly strip away that trace of foreign spiritual consciousness, and finally, his sea of consciousness became clear again. Ning Cheng looked at the remaining 7 medicinal pills in the jade bottle and felt very proud in his heart. If the person who created the dark nether devouring spirit scroll had this medicinal pill, what kind of terrifying height would he have developed to? Nevertheless, Ning Cheng didn't intend to cultivate the devouring spiritual consciousness of the dark nether devouring spirit scroll. He believed that with the help of this medicinal pill, he wouldn't need to devour other people's spiritual consciousness to make his own spiritual consciousness stronger. With this medicinal pill, he could use the spirit technique of devouring spiritual consciousness as a trump card when he couldn't beat his opponent. Ning Qing felt sure that the medicinal pill he and pill sage Min Kong jointly derived wasn't the spirit essence pill, but a new kind of spirit pill. Perhaps in terms of grade, this medicinal pill was at most a soul-sculpting spirit pill. But in fact, this spirit pill might even have an effect on primordial chaos holy emperors. Ning Qing picked up the jade bottle and looked at it for a long time before muttering to himself, "Let's call it the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pill." Both he and pill sage Min Kong had contributed a lot to this medicinal pill, so the name was appropriate. Maybe pill sage Min Kong went to the Grand Essence mystic realm to find divine chalcedony and refine something similar to the spirit essence pill. Putting away the jade bottle, Ning Qing once again refined a furnace of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills. This time, he refined a furnace of 12 top-quality Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills. Putting away the medicinal pills in the pill furnace, Ning Qing stood up and cleaned up. After more than 20 days of seclusion, it was time to come out. Ning Qing walked out of his room and saw Xian Xiu sitting outside his room. He spoke with a slightly apologetic tone, "Xian Xiu, have you been sitting here all this time?" Xian Xiu stood up in surprise when she saw Ning Qing coming out. "Big brother Ji, you came out?" Ning Qing understood that Xian Xiu really wanted to ask him if he found a way. He smiled and took out the jade bottle with only 7 Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills and handed it to Xian Xiu. "This bottle of medicinal pills can save junior apprentice brother Qihong. There are 7 pills in it. If I'm not wrong, you can save junior apprentice brother Qihong with just 3 pills. You can keep the other 4 for your own use. It's good for spiritual consciousness cultivation." Xian Xiu grabbed the jade bottle in surprise. She didn't even ask about the name of the medicinal pill. Instead, she bowed to Ning Qing and hurriedly said, "Thank you, big brother Ji." Then, she turned around and left. Wu Qihong's aura could disappear at any time, which made her anxious. Ning Qing didn't go over. The Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills could repair Wu Qihong's spiritual consciousness. But now, he had to get busy with the Great Meet. The Grand Essence Great Meet would start in 3 days, and he wanted to go out and have a look. Chapter 899. Not long after Ning Qing walked out of the Star-Stepping Tower, the Grand Essence Great Meet qualification card hanging around his waist suddenly vibrated. Ning Qing grabbed the qualification card, and a row of words suddenly appeared on it. Great Meet Time and Place, Grand Essence Calendar 38,602 Epoch, Year 619, October 23, Heaven Essence Sacred Cities Public Square. Upon receiving the message, immediately go to the Grand Essence Sect Alliance to record it. Ning Qing had already learned about the first year of the Grand Essence era, which was the way of counting the years here. According to the date, it should be 3 days later. The Grand Essence Sect Alliance wasn't too far from the Star-Stepping Tower. Therefore, it only took Ning Qing a few minutes to arrive at the Sect Alliance. The Sect Alliance was an organization jointly established by some big and small sects in the Grand Essence domain. Generally, any comprehensive activities in the Grand Essence domain, such as the Grand Essence Great Meet, Mystic Realms, and so on, would need to go through the Sect Alliance. When Ning Qing arrived at the Grand Essence Sect Alliance, many people had already gathered here. Ning Qing immediately saw a few familiar faces, one of which was the cultivator with the flame hive. Ning Qing remembered that fellow's name, Aiden, which sounded a bit Western. Aiden had also entered the Grand Essence Great Meet this time. Therefore, he came here for the same purpose as Ning Qing. Ning Qing wanted to trade the flame hive with him, so he sped up and arrived at the registration office for the Great Meet before handing over his qualification card. The registration process here was very fast. In less than a minute, Ning Qing took back the registration card. Then, he quickly walked towards the cultivator named Aiden. Aiden had a full circle eternal cultivation, and he had an extremely tall stature. He looked more than 2 meters tall. At this moment, he was talking to another cultivator when Ning Cheng suddenly walked over. The two stopped talking and looked at Ning Cheng at the same time. Both of them could tell that Ning Cheng had come towards them. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and said with a smile, "Dao friend Aiden, my name is Ji He, and I'm an alchemy master. I want to talk to Dao friend about something. I wonder if Dao friend Aiden can give me some time." Aiden saw that Ning Cheng had come for him and nodded with a smile. "I know you, Pill Emperor Ji He. You've gained a lot in the mystic realm, and I admire you a lot. I wonder why Dao friend Ji He wants to see me. I can't leave for the time being." Among the cultivators that came out of the mystic realm, the number of divine grasses they displayed could be ranked in the top 10. None of them were weak. If it wasn't obtained through robbery, then it meant that they were extremely lucky and found a place with many divine grasses. Even though he had been trapped in the mystic realm for tens of thousands of years, it was not easy for him to achieve this. However, although Aiden spoke with a polite tone, he obviously didn't put Ning Cheng in his eyes. Just look at the fact that he couldn't squeeze out any time and didn't even report his name. Ning Cheng did not care about it and simply spoke out in a straightforward manner, "I want to exchange the flame beehive with this Dao friend. If this Dao friend is willing, then please state the price you need." Aiden showed a faint smile, "Thank you very much for taking a fancy to my flame hive. My name is Aiden. I took out the fire beehive. I was planning on trading it anyway. This friend is also looking for me to exchange the flame beehive. As for the price, I'll naturally exchange it with whoever offers the highest price." The cultivator talking to Aiden immediately frowned when he heard that Ning Cheng also came for the flame hive. If Ning Cheng had come a little later, they might have already completed the transaction. Ning Cheng couldn't help but wonder why this fellow took out the flame hive when he checked the harvest from the mystic realm. This kid truly had some tricks up his sleeves. But now, he didn't say the price and let others quote the price. That was why he wanted to fish for the greatest benefits. Ning Cheng took out a jade box with restrictions on it and handed it to Aiden. "I'll use this to exchange for it. What do you think?" After understanding that someone also wanted Aiden's flame hive, Ning Cheng felt that he should cut the Gordian knot with a sharp knife. Since he knew that Aiden would come here, then the other cultivators who wanted to exchange with Aiden would also know that Aiden would come here. Aiden reached out and grabbed Ning Cheng's jade box but didn't open it. Instead, he casually swept through it with his spiritual consciousness. When he saw a space crystal, his eyes suddenly lit up. This was a truly good thing, something that even spirit crystals couldn't buy. "It's not bad, but the price is a little lower." Aiden spoke but didn't return the jade box to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng secretly ridiculed Aiden's greed. The price of the flame hive definitely wouldn't be higher than the space spirit crystals. Space spirit crystals were treasures that one couldn't find even if one wanted to. Although the flame hive was rare, it had limited uses. From the moment Aiden grabbed the jade box and didn't hand it to him, Ning Cheng understood what was going on. This fellow really wanted the space crystal. He reached out and grabbed the jade box from Aiden's hand, put it away, and said, "This is the price I can offer. If this Dao friend doesn't want it, then forget it." After saying that, Ning Cheng turned around and left. Even without the flame hive, he could use other methods to help the exploding golden wasps advance. It would just take a lot of time and energy. With his experience in bargaining, Aiden would definitely catch up to him. "Wait." Sure enough, just as Ning Cheng turned around, Aiden called out from behind. Aiden lacked space spirit crystals, so how could he let Ning Cheng go? His mouth was still shouting, but he had already rushed up in front of Ning Cheng. The other cultivator who spoke to Aiden saw the situation and immediately understood that things weren't looking good. He and Aiden had talked until now and naturally understood that Aiden wasn't easy to deal with. He also understood Aiden's greed. From the beginning until now, Aiden hadn't shown even half an interest in his offer. Now that Ning Qing arrived, Aiden immediately chased after him. Naturally, he desired the things in the jade box. He understood that once one lost something in a transaction, it would be difficult to get it back. Therefore, instead of chasing after Aiden, he sent out a message. Seeing Aiden chasing after him, Ning Qing understood that he had succeeded. He also saw the message sent by the other cultivator. From the looks of it, he needed to complete the transaction as soon as possible. After understanding this, Ning Qing didn't continue and stopped. "Dao friend Aiden, do you want to make a deal?" Aiden nodded, "I'll trade with you. Your jade box plus 50,000 spirit crystals." "Deal." Ning Qing didn't bargain and handed over the jade box and the storage bag containing the 50,000 spirit crystals to Aiden without hesitation. Aiden also handed over the storage bag containing the flame hive to Ning Qing. The flame hive covered a large area and had to be stored in a storage bag before it could be traded. The two checked each other's things and expressed satisfaction. Wait. Ning Qing hadn't even put away the storage bag containing the flame hive when two figures rushed over and landed in front of him and Aiden. "You again?" After seeing Ning Qing, the newcomer's face sank and he snorted coldly. Ning Qing also saw the cultivator who came over. It was Ji Pingzhong, the one who snatched a room from him in the star-stepping tower. This fellow seemed to like wearing brown robes and still wore a brown robe. Following behind this fellow was the cultivator who had spoken to Aiden just now. From the looks of it, he was the one who called Ji Pingzhong over. "Take out the flame hive. I'll give you double the amount of spirit crystals." Ji Pingzhong spoke with a condescending tone. He didn't put Ning Qing in his eyes. Ning Qing had to compromise in front of a mere Deacon Huang in the star-stepping tower. Now, facing Ji Pingzhong, one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, how could he not compromise? Ning Qing had compromised in the star-stepping tower because Deacon Huang was willing to pay double the amount of spirit crystals. Moreover, he also knew that even if he didn't compromise, he couldn't do anything about it. Ji Pingzhong thought that Ning Qing would compromise because of his identity, which meant that Ning Qing thought too highly of himself. Putting away the flame hive calmly, Ning Qing spoke with a calm voice, "By the way, if I don't want to, will you bring this matter back to the desolate spirit palace?" When Ji Pingzhong heard Ning Qing's words, how could he not understand that Ning Qing was mocking him for threatening the star-stepping tower's master with the desolate spirit palace? He had indeed reported the matter, but the desolate spirit palace didn't send any experts to help him. Instead, they even reprimanded him and sent an elder to the star-stepping tower to express their apologies. Now that Ning Qing said those words, it was simply a naked slap in the face. In fact, Ning Qing's words were a slap in the face. Ning Qing had lived in the star-stepping tower for nearly a month, and the star-stepping tower had remained calm without any noise. He understood that the desolate spirit palace didn't dare to do anything to the star-stepping tower. Moreover, Ning Qing didn't know that the desolate spirit palace had gone to the star-stepping tower to express their apologies. If he knew about it, he might have slapped them in the face even more. If he could fight here, Ji Pingzhong would have already brought out his weapon to kill Ning Qing. But since he couldn't fight here, he could only speak up with a livid face, "So you don't want to hand over the flame hive?" Ning Qing's tone remained calm, "Why should I give you my things? Are all the people from the desolate spirit palace as shameless as you? Do you want to force someone else's things?" Ning Qing's voice wasn't low, and the surrounding cultivators immediately gathered around. Whether it was mortals or cultivators, they all had the same mentality about watching the show. Ji Pingzhong seemed to understand that Ning Qing wouldn't compromise. Therefore, he turned his gaze to Aiden. He didn't speak, but his gaze gave him a sense of pressure. Aiden showed a faint smile and ignored Ji Pingzhong. He then turned around and walked away. Ji Pingzhong didn't stop Aiden and just stared at Ning Qing. "I know you will also participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. I hope you can live to 100 years old in the Grand Essence Great Meat. Ning Cheng also didn't bother with Ji Pingzhong and directly walked out of the sect union. This fellow must have been used to being respected by others and thought that rogue cultivators had to humble themselves in front of him. Ignored by Aiden and Ning Cheng one after another, Ji Pingzhong's hands trembled in anger. He knew that staying here would only make him a laughing stock. Walking out of the Grand Essence Sect Union, Ning Cheng didn't feel too happy about obtaining the flame hive. As for whether he had offended Ji Pingzhong or not, he didn't care about it. Instead, he thought about the black-robed woman from the Star-Stepping Tower. The Desolate Spirit Palace ranked as one of the top 10 sects, which meant that it definitely had a Dao fusion powerhouse. The black-robed woman didn't even give a damn about such a sect and didn't suffer any retaliation. This showed how strong she was. Since he had the mysterious yellow bead, shouldn't he continue to live in the Star-Stepping Tower? Chapter 900. To Ning Cheng's slight relief, the black-robed woman from the Star-Stepping Tower did not seem to have noticed him. Elder Brother Ji. Ning Cheng had just walked to the door of the room when Xian Shoshin opened the restrictions covering the room. At the same time, an incomparably happy voice arrived. Many thanks to Senior Apprentice Brother for saving my life. Standing behind Xian Xiao was Wu Qihong, who couldn't even open his eyes before. At this moment, Wu Qihong's life force still remained weak. Ning Cheng could clearly feel that his life force was slowly converging, and even his essence spirit had started to slowly condense. Ning Cheng knew that the consciousness transmutation pill had no way to condense an essence spirit. As such, Wu Qihong's essence spirit started to condense slowly. It wasn't because the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill had the effect of condensing one's soul, but because his soul wasn't damaged. Wu Qihong's essence spirit slowly dissipated because his sea of consciousness had shattered. Now that his sea of consciousness had begun to recover, his primordial spirit had also begun to gradually solidify. In any case, Ning Cheng felt very satisfied with Wu Qihong's recovery speed. The Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill did not disappoint him. In fact, its effects far exceeded his expectations. Seeing the look in Xian Xiao's eyes, Ning Cheng knew that Xian Xiao did not speak about the matter of him being a fake Jihe. He was quite satisfied with Xian Xiao's cautiousness. After all, Wu Qihong was far from fully recovered. Knowing this kind of thing could easily leak out. He smiled and said to Wu Qihong, "You can recuperate in peace. Don't worry about anything else." Wu Qihong replied respectfully, "Qihong will follow Senior Apprentice Brother's instructions." After that, he took the initiative to enter the room to continue healing. After Wu Qihong left, Xian Xiao spoke up, "I didn't tell Qihong about you. In fact, after Elder Brother Ji left, Qihong comforted me. He told me that Big Brother Yen took those god herbs in order to fulfill Master's dying wish to become a pill emperor as soon as possible. In fact, he never hated Big Brother Yen." Ning Cheng also couldn't help but sigh. The character of these two junior apprentice brothers and junior apprentice sister seemed to be much better than him. After returning to his residence, Ning Cheng did not go out again. He immediately threw the flame hive in front of the exploding golden wasp king in the true spirit world. The few exploding golden wasps in the true spirit world saw the flame hive and immediately rushed over, disappearing into the flame hive. Ning Cheng did not continue to observe the exploding golden wasps and withdrew from the true spirit world to start refining pills. He had promised to send some Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills to Qi Shixingsing. Although Qi Shixingsing hadn't arrived yet, he still planned to refine them first. On the third day, Wu Qihong's cultivation also recovered by more than half. After Ning Cheng gave some spirit crystals and medicinal pills to Xian Xiao and Wu Qihong, he told Xian Xiao that he would be leaving and would never return to the Star-Stepping Tower again. Xian Xiao vaguely knew that Ning Cheng would participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. But now that Ning Cheng said that he wouldn't come back, she didn't ask about it. She just said that once Wu Qihong recovered, they would leave the Heaven Essence Sacred City. By the time Ning Cheng arrived at the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square, the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square was already overcrowded. The Grand Essence Great Meet represented the highest level of fights under the Tao confirming realm in the entire Grand Essence realm. Almost everyone who could come here to watch the competition was here. In the middle of the public square, there was only a single dueling platform. Sitting on the main platform were several powerhouses, but Ning Cheng could not make out their cultivations. Ning Cheng's gaze swept around and quickly found a disciple from the profound Moon Spirit Gate. He quickly walked over and cupped his fists before asking, "Senior apprentice brother, may I ask if Shizingsing is here?" This disciple also knew Ning Cheng. Seeing Ning Cheng ask about Qi Shizingsing, he quickly returned the courtesy, "So it's Pil Emperor Ji. Senior apprentice brother Shizingsing should be in seclusion. As for the specific situation, I don't know much about it." Ning Cheng didn't continue to ask. Qi Shizingsing had been trapped in the mystic realm for so many years, so it was normal for him to go into seclusion after returning. As for the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill, Ning Cheng didn't want others to bring it to Qi Shizingsing. This kind of thing was too precious. Therefore, he had to personally deliver it to Qi Shizingsing. An old man with a ruddy face flew out from the main platform. It was the old man who presided over the Grand Essence Mystic Realm's display of divine grasses. He stood in the void above the huge battle platform in the middle of the public square. Disciples participating in the Grand Essence Great Meet, the Grand Essence Great Meet is about to begin. We will decide the top 10 in the shortest time possible. The top 10 will gain the right to enter the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. As for the rankings after the 11th place, which will involve the allocation of resources to the Grand Essence Mystic Realm and the sects, we will slowly decide them after the top 10 enter the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. Now, all participants, please pay attention to your participation qualification card, which contains your number of matches and opponents. I hereby announce the rules of the Grand Essence Sect Union. There are no restrictions in the tournament until one side concedes defeat. If one side concedes defeat, the other side must not continue to kill. The disciples who fall on the battle platform are the results of the battles. No sect or individual can seek revenge or take advantage of the results on the battle platform. After the old man with a ruddy face finished speaking, he turned around and returned to his seat. Ning Cheng shook his head. The second half of the old man's words were equivalent to bullshit. He only said one sentence, "Don't seek revenge because of the results on the battle platform." Not only did he not mention the consequences of doing so, but he also didn't even mention any punishment. From this, one could imagine that those who sought revenge would still seek revenge after the battle. This was to deter the disciples of the small sects from killing the core disciples of the big sections. From the old man's words, Ning Cheng understood that the Grand Essence Great Meet wasn't just about the quota for the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, but something else. After the ruddy-faced old man announced the start of the tournament, the public square turned silent, and Ning Cheng's participation qualification card also shook. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept through the qualification card and saw a row of small words on it: Ji He, number 95, opponent number 41, round 16. Ning Cheng had just seen his number when a purple-robed man landed on the battle platform. Ning Cheng didn't know this purple-robed man. But before this purple-robed man came on stage, Ning Cheng could feel the aura coming from this purple-robed man. From this, he could tell that this purple-robed man was a powerhouse. In terms of strength alone, this purple-robed man wasn't much weaker than Ji Pingzhong. The first match is Kekalu Shi. This is going to be interesting. Kekalu Shi is ranked 7th among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. I don't know who's unlucky enough to meet Kekalu Shi. From the whispers of the cultivators next to him, Ning Cheng understood that the purple-robed man on the stage was called Kekalu Shi. He was also one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children and ranked 7th. So far, Ning Cheng had seen 5 of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Chu Bai, Hua Erki, Gua Hauga, Ji Pingzhong, and Kekalu Shi. Kekalu Shi spoke with a rough tone. He cupped his fists on the battle platform and spoke with a gruff voice, Heaven's Pole Islands Kekalu Shi. I'm here to learn from you. As Kekalu Shi's voice fell, another man with a medium build landed on the battle platform. After this man came up, he didn't speak. Instead, he directly brought out a weapon and attacked Kekalu Shi. However, this man's strength was far inferior to Kekalu Shi's. As soon as the two started fighting, Kekalu Shi completely suppressed him. In less than half an incense stick worth of time, several blue lights struck the man's chest. A few blood mists sprayed out from his chest, and he also spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. In this state, even if he wanted to admit defeat, he wouldn't be able to say it. Kekalu Shi shouldn't be a cruel and merciless person. Therefore, when his opponent couldn't even speak, he immediately stopped. It wasn't until Kekalu Shi stopped that his opponent finally said the word admit defeat. If Kekalu Shi hadn't taken the initiative to stop, Kekalu Shi would have already killed this cultivator. After the two people went down, another two people came up. Ning Qing could tell that this was an elimination round. 100 people fought against each other, and this elimination round determined 50 people. The battles progressed quickly, and Ning Qing could hear some of the origins of the cultivators fighting on the battle platform from the cultivators around him. Under normal circumstances, cultivators from big sects would win more than they lost. The cultivators who came to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet were indeed much stronger than ordinary cultivators. But in Ning Cheng's opinion, if they all had this level, he wouldn't have any problems entering the top 10. The battles reached the 14th round, and a female cultivator came up on the stage. Ning Cheng heard from the surrounding cultivators that this female cultivator's name was Yi Luoping. She was also one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children and ranked 10th. This female cultivator's opponent turned out to be Aiden, the rogue cultivator who traded the flame hive with Ning Cheng. Yi Luoping didn't speak after coming up on the stage. Instead, she brought out a lotus sword platform. Ning Cheng knew that the lotus sword platform was a powerful weapon. It was a lotus sword platform formed from a sword array. Once trapped by the lotus sword platform, even if one's strength was a level higher than the other party, one would find it difficult to escape. In the end, one's heart would be pierced by 10,000 swords. Aiden gave Ning Cheng a relatively average feeling, and he felt that Aiden wouldn't be Yi Luoping's opponent. But when Aiden and Yi Luoping started fighting, Ning Cheng realized that he had misjudged him. Aiden was far more terrifying than what he showed on the surface. Moreover, Aiden's weapon also looked strange. It was just a wisp of black smoke. The black smoke obviously didn't have any strength. But after Aiden brought it out, it transformed into a substantial smoke shield and a black smoke-killing light. The black smoke didn't show any signs of collapse when it collided with Yi Luoping's sword array. Powerful celestial essence and smoke burst out and quickly covered the two fighting figures. The battle platform shielded one's spiritual consciousness. Therefore, as the two fought fiercely, Ning Cheng's eyes couldn't see who had the upper hand. A burst of whimpering sounds came from the battle platform. Although it was broad daylight, these sounds gave people a chilly feeling. Boom 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 boom. The celestial essence explosions didn't stop after the two fought on the stage. After an incense stick worth of time, a beautiful figure flew out of the center of the explosion and hit the restrictions around the battle platform. She then spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and slid to the ground. Ning Cheng could clearly see that it was Yi Luoping. I lost. Yi Luoping, who slid to the ground, didn't wait for Aiden to continue and immediately admitted defeat. Seeing that she couldn't get up from the ground for a long time, Ning Cheng understood that Yi Luoping's injuries weren't light. The public square immediately burst into an uproar. This was the first time since the start of the battle. A rogue cultivator had actually defeated Yi Luoping, who ranked 10th among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Didn't this mean that this rogue cultivator also had the strength to contend for the title of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children? Aiden showed a calm smile and cupped his fists towards the audience. He then walked down the battle platform unhurriedly. Chapter 901. The 15th match had already started, but the cultivators on the public square were still talking about the 14th match. Aiden had also become the focus of everyone's attention. Ning Qing glanced at Aiden. No wonder this fellow didn't fear Ji Pingzhong's threat. His strength definitely wasn't any worse than Ji Pingzhong's. Even without using his spiritual consciousness to observe Aiden's fight, Ning Qing could guess that Aiden hadn't used his full strength to defeat Yi Luoping. In other words, this fellow had hidden his strength. The 15th match quickly passed, and Ning Cheng's qualification card lit up again. Ning Qing didn't hesitate and jumped directly onto the dueling platform. Whether it was Ning Qing or Ji He, both of them were unknown people that few people knew about. If Ji He hadn't been trapped in the Grand Essence mystic realm for 60,000 years, even fewer people would have known about him. After Ning Qing came to the stage, no one talked about him. But Sun Kai-Xian looked at Ning Qing in disbelief. As Ji He's fiancée, although she didn't care much about Ji He, she also knew about Ji He's strength. If it came to alchemy, Ji He might be competent. But in a place like the Grand Essence Great Meat, Ji He would just be a joke. The green-robed woman standing next to Sun Kai-Xian also exclaimed in surprise, "Kai-Xian, this fellow didn't sell his qualification card and really came to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meat. Is he crazy?" Sun Kai-Xian didn't answer the green-robed woman's words. She also thought that Ji He had gone crazy. Anyone who could participate in this kind of competition could instantly kill Ji He. Previously, she also thought that Ji He had displayed a bunch of divine grasses to win a spot in the Great Meat because he wanted to sell them. Or rather, Ji He wanted to help the profound Moon Spirit Gate exchange for a spot. But now, it seemed that it wasn't the case at all. Since Ji He came to the dueling platform, it meant that he wanted to participate in the fight. Ning Qing had just stood on the dueling platform when a man with some black spots on his face flew over and landed in front of Ning Qing. As soon as this man came up, Ning Qing could tell that this fellow had a full circle eternal cultivation. The black spots on his face gave off a strange aura, indicating that he cultivated a cultivation method. Seeing Ning Qing bring out a middle-rank spirit artifact long spear, this man's gaze swept over Ning Qing's long spear and spoke with an indifferent tone. "Admit defeat, and I won't hurt you. Otherwise, if I were to make a move, it would be too late for you to admit defeat." As he spoke, his imposing aura surged up and directly suppressed Ning Qing's domain. Ning Qing allowed the other party's domain to gain the upper hand and did not use his domain to fight back. With his strength, if he wanted to stimulate his domain to fight back, then the domain of this male cultivator with black spots on his face would not be able to withstand even a single blow. "Don't be so long-winded." Ning Qing did not speak any nonsense, as the long spear in his hands blasted out. The long spear only brought out a few spear patterns without any spirit techniques. Ning Qing didn't even use the laws of space. He knew very well what he was here for. He wasn't here to show others how strong he was. Instead, he wanted to go to the extraterritorial divine spring. As long as he could go to the extraterritorial divine spring, it didn't matter even if he was ranked 10th. "You're courting death," the dark-spotted man roared. His domain completely suppressed Ning Qing's domain. In this case, Ning Qing not only didn't admit defeat, but also dared to bring out his long spear and take the initiative to attack. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? The dark-spotted man waved his hand, and a black cloud suddenly appeared between him and Ning Qing. A rancid aura quickly spread out, and Ning Qing saw that it wasn't a black cloud, but a shroud. To be honest, this was the first time Ning Qing saw someone using a shroud as a weapon. The dark-spotted man's shroud looked different. It exuded a disgusting rancid aura, which almost made Ning Qing vomit. Not only that, but an invisible Dao charm seeped out from the shroud one after another. These Dao charms instantly merged into the dark-spotted man's domain, which already suppressed Ning Cheng's domain. Perhaps in just a few breaths, Ning Cheng's domain would shatter. Ning Cheng frowned a little. He knew that he had to stay in a stalemate with the other party for a while, but this dark-spotted man's shroud was too disgusting. After the dark-spotted man brought out the shroud, his domain fused with the Dao charm aura of the shroud, causing the suppression to grow even stronger. Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't let the other party crush him. Therefore, his domain also grew stronger. Even if the dark-spotted man's domain grew stronger, Ning Cheng's domain could still faintly block it. The moment the shroud's Dao charm merged with the dark-spotted man's domain, dozens of skeletal palms rushed out of the shroud and completely sealed off the space around Ning Cheng. No matter which direction Ning Cheng fled to, he couldn't escape the shadows of these skeletal palms. Although he had a good plan, it was a pity that his domain could completely suppress Ning Cheng's domain. When the skeletal palms in his shroud reached out, he suddenly discovered that Ning Cheng's domain had grown stronger at some point. Even if his shroud and his domain fused together, he couldn't break through it even by half. Ka-ka-ka. A burst of cracking sounds emerged, as the spear lines on Ning Cheng's long spear suddenly increased in number. Except for a part of it blocked by the corpse-wrapping cloth, the rest of the spear lines all exploded into the palm shadows of the skeletal palms. These skeletal palm prints completely shattered like popcorn. The dark-spotted man couldn't believe this result at all. He thought that his skeletal palms would crush Ning Cheng to death and turn him into a wisp of resentment on his shroud. He never expected that his skeletal palms would shatter in the end, while his opponent would come out unscathed. Ning Cheng wanted to use his domain to suppress the other party and then use Sunset's twilight to kill this dark-spotted man in front of him. However, he managed to hold back in the end. After his long spear shattered the skeletal palms, he seemed to have suffered a huge backlash and was sent flying backwards. As a rogue cultivator, even if he wanted to kill this dark-spotted man, he couldn't do it so easily. Otherwise, he would have been repeatedly investigated before he could even go to the extraterritorial spirit spring. Seeing Ning Cheng flying backwards due to the backlash, the dark-spotted man felt slightly relieved. Just now, Ning Cheng's domain had strengthened, and then the spear patterns had erupted. He thought that Ning Cheng had burned his essence blood and then cast a killing move. After figuring this out, the dark-spotted man didn't hesitate at all. He rolled up the shroud and rushed over. If he didn't kill Ning Cheng, he wouldn't feel comfortable in his heart. The smell of cold corpses mixed with the endless black skeletons rushed towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart. He truly had bad luck to meet such a disgusting cultivator. If not for the battle platform, this dark-spotted man would have already jumped off his bridge of coping and made some contributions to the bridge of coping. At this moment, Ning Cheng could only fight back. He once again brought out 2 defensive shields and fought against the dark-spotted man. After an incense stick worth of time, the dark-spotted man felt that something was wrong. Although his opponent looked battered and looked like he could fall at any moment, he was still safe and sound. Was the other party pretending? Did he deliberately want to fight with him? The more the dark-spotted man thought about it, the more he felt that it was true. The dark-spotted man, who originally wanted to bring out a spirit technique, started to feel a little nervous in his heart. After thinking about it for a moment, he decided to give up on bringing out a spirit technique and immediately admit defeat. It should be about time. Ning Cheng had just thought of this when he felt the dark-spotted man wanting to retreat. At this time, how could he let the dark-spotted man walk away unscathed? Bringing out a few more shields, Ning Cheng's shields completely sealed off the dark-spotted man. Sensing a powerful spatial shackle, the dark-spotted man's heart sank. He felt sure that Ning Cheng was pretending. This kind of powerful spatial shackle definitely wasn't something an ordinary eternal cultivator could do. He opened his mouth to admit defeat. But at this time, how could Ning Cheng let his opponent speak? While the spatial shackles enveloped the dark-spotted man, the spear's spear patterns also pierced through the dark-spotted man's head. Poof poof poof. The spear patterns rolled up a spray of blood, and the dark-spotted man's essence spirit turned into nothingness. Ning Cheng breathed in a sigh of relief, put away his things, and slowly walked down the battle platform. Ning Cheng didn't accept the dark-spotted man's things. Firstly, he didn't care about these things, and secondly, he didn't know who the person behind the dark-spotted man was. He didn't want to give others an excuse to accept these things. Ning Cheng and the dark-spotted man weren't famous people. Therefore, the two of them fought until now, and one of them fell, but it didn't cause much surprise. Many cultivators were still talking about the fight between Aiden and Yi Luoping. Kai Xian, gee, he actually won this. The green-robed woman, who had been watching Ning Cheng's fight in the distance, spoke up in surprise. Sun Kai Xian also looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. After the fight with the dark-spotted man, Ning Cheng looked quite embarrassed. Not only was his hair messy, but even his clothes were torn in many places. Moreover, his aura was also somewhat unstable. No matter what happened to Ning Cheng, it was a fact that Ning Cheng had won against the dark-spotted man. He seems to have changed a lot. After a long time, Sun Kai Xian replied. Whether it was Ning Cheng ridiculing Guahauga outside the Grand Essence Mystic Realm or Ning Cheng participating in the Grand Essence Great Meet, he was completely different from the previous Ji-He. The green-robed woman next to Sun Kai Xian sighed and said, he should have obtained some opportunities in the Mystic Realm. Unfortunately, he still doesn't know how to be flexible. He just killed a core disciple of the Immortal Corpse sect. Now that he killed him, it would be strange if the Immortal Corpse sect would let him go. The green-robed woman's words dispelled Sun Saishuan's doubts. Ning Cheng naturally didn't know that the person he killed was someone from the Immortal Corpse sect. Even if the Immortal Corpse sect wanted his life, he wouldn't hesitate to kill them. At this moment, he stood in a corner and watched other cultivators fight while waiting for his next fight. Most of the fights ended quickly. Except for a few cultivators who fought for a long time, the first 50 fights ended quickly. Guahauga and Ji Pingzhong had also fought on the stage, and their strength far surpassed cultivators in the same realm. But in Ning Cheng's opinion, it didn't matter much. Ning Cheng felt sure that neither of them could match up to Aiden. Among the cultivators that Ning Cheng remembered, apart from his acquaintance Yan Xishuang, Aiden was also one. Moreover, Ning Cheng also remembered Lu Yixian and Yi Ning, two of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Lu Yixian was at the late-stage Eternal Realm and ranked first among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Yi Ning ranked third among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. In Ning Cheng's opinion, Lu Yixian's opponent wasn't much weaker than the dark-spotted man he killed. Moreover, Lu Yixian almost killed his opponent in seconds. Ning Cheng didn't even see his weapon. Chapter 902. After the top 50 were decided, Ning Cheng's qualification card lit up again. Above it was the information of Ning Cheng's next match, the 11th match. The opponent was the 29th. Ning Cheng knew that number 29's opponent had a slightly higher cultivation compared to the dark-spotted man, and his weapon was a 4-symbol spirit fire flag. Among all the matches, the strength of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children was significantly higher than the rest of the participants. However, Ning Cheng also saw that not all of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children participated in the matches. At least, he knew that Chu Bai and Hua Erqi didn't participate. Ning Cheng didn't know whether Hua Erqi was dead or alive, but Ning Cheng knew that Chu Bai was still alive. Among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, except for Yi Luoping, who lost the match, Lu Yixian, Guahauga, Ji Pingzhong, Yi Ning, and Kekaluoxi all won. In other words, apart from Chu Bai and Hua Erqi, 4 of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children didn't participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. The matches for the top 25 had also taken a long time. From the looks of it, the strength of the participating cultivators had also increased by a level. Many cultivators on the public square watched the fights between the participants on the battle stage with fascination. Ning Cheng, on the other hand, couldn't muster up any excitement. He had always fought against half-step Dao sculpting powerhouses. The eternal cultivators who came here to participate were all the best. But compared to half-step Dao sculpting powerhouses, they still fell short. In the 11th match, Ning Cheng took the stage again. His opponent was number 29, a thin and short male cultivator with only late-stage eternal cultivation. After this male cultivator came up, he didn't waste any time and directly brought out the 4-symbol spirit fire flag, which rolled up a large flame. These flames not only formed a few fire elephants but also formed a fire elephant grand array around Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng naturally didn't speak any nonsense. He brought out a long spear and started fighting against the thin male cultivator. Whether it was the array formation or the flames, they posed no threat to Ning Cheng. On the surface, it looked like the two were fighting desperately, with spear shadows and flames flying everywhere. Only Ning Cheng knew how much effort he put in. What made him feel a little relieved was that the spiritual consciousness of the cultivators on the main stage couldn't penetrate the battle stage. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to do this. But even so, Ning Cheng suspected that someone had noticed that he wasn't using his full strength. However, Ning Cheng didn't feel worried. He wasn't the only cultivator who didn't use his full strength. People like Aiden and Lu Yixian hadn't used their full strength, so they didn't mind adding him to the mix. Because of the Grand Essence Great Meet, the Heaven Essence Sacred City had turned quite lively. Even some experts who were in closed-door training all year round came here. Naturally, they weren't here to watch the competition, but to take advantage of this opportunity to participate in some item exchanges or auctions. During each Grand Essence Great Meet, the most lively event wasn't necessarily the Great Meet itself, but the various trade fairs that accompanied the Great Meet. Only Man Huishan of the Barbarian Dragon clan remained in the Grand Essence ruins. A month ago, when the Grand Essence Mystic Realm opened, his son, Man Juran, died in the Grand Essence Mystic Realm. Therefore, he went to the location of the Grand Essence Mystic Realm's teleportation array. It was just that the cultivators who came out of the Mystic Realm all had names and backgrounds. Moreover, he couldn't find any traces of killing Man Juran from these cultivators. After a quick investigation, he couldn't find the murderer. He could only return to the Grand Essence ruins and search for Ning Cheng, who possessed the 5-colored star splitter arrow. His son couldn't come back to life after death. Moreover, he didn't have only one son, Man Juran. For him now, the 5-colored star splitter arrow was more important. Over the past year or so, he hadn't made no progress. At least he found that lifeless Poison Hand had once appeared in the Grand Essence ruins. At this moment, he was trying his best to search for lifeless Poison Hand. As long as he found lifeless Poison Hand, he would have news about Ning Cheng's life or death. On the day of the Grand Essence Great Meet, Man Huishan was drinking tea in a rest stop in the Grand Essence ruins when a message fell on his communication pearl. The message said that the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meet had come to an end. This message also showed the names of the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meet. Man Huishan glanced at it but didn't see any Barbarian Dragon clan disciples. Despite feeling disappointed, Man Huishan knew that it wasn't unexpected. The Barbarian Dragon clan had no successors, so it was normal for no one to rush into the top 25. But when he was about to put down the communication pearl, he suddenly saw a familiar name, Tier 8 Pill Emperor Ji He. He knew this Ji He. He was the puny Pill Emperor who had been trapped in the Mystic Realm for 60,000 years along with Profound Moon Spirit Gate's Qi Shizingsing. Because of the opening of the Mystic Realm, only Ji He and Qi Shizingsing had strange identities among the cultivators who came out. He also deliberately observed Ji He and even asked others to inquire about Ji He. In the end, he came to the conclusion that Ji He wasn't a fake. After all, there were many dangerous places in the Grand Essence Mystic Realm. Manjurin might not necessarily have died at the hands of other cultivators. He might have entered a dangerous place but never came out. He had investigated Ji He and learned that Ji He was just an alchemy master. His real strength wasn't very high. Not to mention entering the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meat, even a random late-stage eternal cultivator could defeat Ji He. But now, he received news that Ji He had entered the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meat. Man Huishan's first reaction when he saw the news was that Ji He was a fake. In other words, Ji He might have been someone else in disguise. One could obtain many opportunities in the Grand Essence Mystic Realm. But to explain such a dramatic increase in one's combat prowess purely as an opportunity, it was a bit strange. Man Huishan no longer had the mood to drink tea. He directly sent out 2 messages. The first message was sent to Silver Light Fort, and the second message asked about Ji He's battle. Chu Bai, one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, came from Silver Light Fort. The reason why Man Huishan sent this message was that he asked Chu Bai about an extremely powerful unknown powerhouse in the Grand Essence Mystic Realm. This unknown powerhouse didn't seem to have reached the full circle of the Eternal Realm, but he could easily crush Chu Bai and Hua Erki, 2 of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. It's just that this powerhouse didn't come out of the Mystic Realm. According to Chu Bai, the human-faced poison centipede devoured him. Man Huishan also asked some other cultivators and found that someone had indeed seen a human-faced poison centipede chasing a cultivator. Now that Man Huishan thought about Ji He's disguise, he naturally guessed that the unknown powerhouse had also changed his appearance. After a while, both messages came back. The unknown powerhouse Chu Bai mentioned used a long spear, and the spear patterns were especially powerful. He also received Ji He's battle scene, which also showed a long spear. Although the spear patterns looked ordinary, they both used spear patterns to fight. Man Huishan didn't know what weapon Ji He used before, but he wasn't in the mood to investigate it. That unknown powerhouse had obtained a lot of divine grasses in the Divine Grass Garden, and Ji He had also won a spot in the Grand Essence Great Meat by displaying his divine grasses. Putting all these together, he felt 80% sure that the unknown powerhouse who suppressed Chu Bai was Ji He. Or rather, the person who had changed his appearance to Ji He. Man Huishan slapped the tea table in front of him into pieces and suddenly stood up. He handed over the task of finding Ning Cheng and lifeless Poison Hand to his followers in the Grand Essence ruins while he rushed towards the teleportation array. He wanted to teleport to Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square as soon as possible. He felt some regret in his heart. Why didn't he think of the possibility of a large number of divine grasses appearing in the spiritual medicine garden? Regardless of whether this person disguised as Ji He was Manjurin's murderer or not, he would take this person away. If this person didn't have any ulterior motives, why would he change his appearance to Ji He? Not to mention that the other party was a rogue cultivator. Even if the other party was a true disciple of the profound Moon Spirit Gate, he would take him down and question him. Chu Bai didn't go to Heaven Essence Sacred City to watch the Grand Essence Great Meat, nor did he participate in it. After escaping from the mystic realm and failing to find the cultivator who robbed him of a large number of divine grasses, he immediately went into seclusion to heal his injuries. But now, Man Huishan sent a message to the Silver Light Fort, asking about the weapon used by the unknown powerhouse who robbed the medicinal garden in the mystic realm. Chu Bai might be one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, but he was still far from being able to talk to Man Huishan. The last time, Man Huishan sent someone to the Silver Light Fort to inquire about Manjurin's death. But this time, Man Huishan personally sent a message to the Silver Light Fort, which meant that things weren't that simple. But before he could figure it out, the people from the Silver Light Fort already understood why Man Huishan asked about it. Silver Light Fort naturally paid close attention to the top 25 cultivators in the Grand Essence Great Meat. Even if Man Huishan didn't ask about it, over time, they would associate Ji He's spear patterns with the unknown powerhouse who fought against Chu Bai. When Chu Bai saw Ji He's spear patterns fighting on the battle stage from the crystal ball, he immediately understood why Man Huishan asked about the unknown powerhouse's weapon. Chu Bai hadn't fully recovered from his injuries yet, but he still rushed to the Heaven Essence sacred city with the elders from the Silver Light Fort. Ning Qing didn't expect Man Huishan to have such a monstrous and meticulous mind. Even without being present, he could still see through the top 20 of the Grand Essence Great Meat. Moreover, he didn't expect that his weapon would expose his disguise. There were too many cultivators who used spears, and he wasn't the one who created the spear patterns. Moreover, he wasn't the only one who used spear patterns on the battle stage of the Grand Essence Great Meat. At this time, Ning Qing, after a hard fight, luckily defeated his opponent and advanced to the top 25. Sun Caixin still stared at Ning Qing from afar. After Ning Qing advanced to the top 25, she muttered to herself, "He's not Ji He, definitely not Ji He." The green-robed woman next to Sun Caixin looked at Ning Qing in disbelief. But when she heard Sun Caixuan's words, she immediately asked in doubt, "Caixin, what did you just say? Did you say he's not Ji He?" Hearing the green-robed woman's question, Sun Caixin immediately reacted and quickly replied, No, I didn't say that." But before she could finish, she realized that someone had heard her words and quickly whispered to the green-robed woman, "Shinsai, keep your voice down. Ji He should be someone else in disguise. I believe I'm not mistaken." "Ah!" The green-robed woman called Shinsai screamed. But immediately realized that something was wrong and quickly stopped speaking. Chapter 903. But Shinsai's tone was a little hesitant. She felt that Ji He wasn't a fake. She and Ji He knew each other very well, and it wasn't the first time she had spoken to Ji He. Even after so many years, she could still vaguely remember the aura of Ji He's cultivation method. It hadn't changed at all. Not long after the top 25 were decided, Ning Qing's qualification card lit up again. The row of small words on the qualification card almost made Ning Qing laugh in surprise. When luck came, it simply couldn't be stopped. The qualification card clearly stated, Ji He, number 95. This round is a bye. Directly entering the top 13. Ji He had a bye this round and directly entered the top 13. It had already been displayed on the array formation display in the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square. Even some cultivators who didn't know Ji He couldn't help but marvel at Ji He's luck. He didn't meet any powerful opponents in the first and second rounds, and he even had a bye in the third round. Seeing Ji He enter the top 13 with a bye, the green-robed female cultivator standing next to Sun Caixin finally voiced out her doubts. "Caixin, Ji He's cultivation method aura hasn't changed. Are you overthinking it? After all, it's not impossible to find some opportunities in the Grand Essence mystic realm. Although Ji He's strength has grown a lot stronger than before, he barely wins every time. He's far inferior to ordinary eternal powerhouses." Although Ji He entered the top 13, she still felt a little eager for Ji He to return to the Sun clan again. Sun Caixin opened her mouth but couldn't think of a retort. In fact, she also felt that Ji He's aura hadn't changed much. The reason why she was so sure that Ji He was a fake was because Ji He's personality had changed and his strength had soared. Moreover, Ji He no longer looked at her with the same infatuation as before. Ji He wasn't good with words and looked very dull. However, he was extremely infatuated with her. Sometimes, she could feel Ji He's excitement with just a slight smile or even a slight nod of her head. But Ji He, who returned from the mystic realm, never gave her such a feeling again. Even when Guahauga held her hand, Ji He's eyes didn't show any fluctuations. Was it really as Shinsai said? Did Ji He's personality change? Caixin, people always change. Guahauga is too despicable. He clearly didn't have such intentions, but he just had to do it for Ji He to see. Shinsai suddenly felt angry with Guohauge. If it wasn't for Guohauge, he would still be a member of the Tsun family. Tsun Kaixuan shook her head. Shinsai, don't talk about Guohauge. He's not what you think. Shinsai knew that Tsun Kaixuan was infatuated with Guohauge. Even if she knew that Guohauge was not interested in Tsun Kaixuan, she could only shut her mouth. The battle for the top 13 had turned into a head-on battle. Ning Cheng, who was standing on the side watching the fights on the battle platform, knew that if he had not drawn a blank lot, then perhaps he would have had to come up with a part of his strength in order to rush into the top 13. One of the Heaven Essence's 12 sacred children, Kekulushi, met Yi Ning. Although they were both Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, Yi Ning's strength was more than double that of Kekulushi's. Yi Ning's weapon somewhat resembled Ning Cheng's Seven Bridges Realm book, which was also a book. Because his spiritual consciousness could not penetrate into the battle platform, Ning Cheng only knew that Yi Ning had only opened 3 pages of the book when the golden light radiating from the book enveloped Kekulu. Kekulushi also understood that he wasn't Yi Ning's opponent. So, after the golden light enveloped him, he immediately admitted defeat. Yi Ning's easy victory over Kekulushi didn't cause much discussion. Everyone felt that it was normal. What Ning Cheng wanted to see the most was the fight between Yi Ning, Lu Yixian, and Aiden. Yi Ning quickly defeated Kekulushi, but Ning Cheng only saw her weapon and didn't see any further moves, which made Ning Cheng feel a little disappointed. Aiden's next opponent was a disciple from the Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain, one of the top 10 sections. Ning Cheng knew Ping Shan and Peng Ruimei from the Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain, but neither of them had come. Aiden's black smoke weapon piqued Ning Cheng's interest. Since Aiden came to the stage, Ning Cheng's eyes had been glued to Aiden's every move. Just when Ning Cheng thought about what Aiden's black smoke was made of, he suddenly felt extremely uncomfortable. It felt as if danger would fall on his head at any time. Ning Cheng subconsciously looked around and found that everyone was paying attention to the fight on the stage. Except for Tsun Kaixuan's spiritual consciousness, who stood on the opposite side. From time to time, Ning Cheng didn't find any danger. Ning Cheng no longer had the mind to focus on the battle on the stage. Origin Aura was very sensitive to danger, and he didn't feel that his intuition of danger was groundless. Ning Cheng looked at the several experts on the main stage and hesitated for a moment before walking over. A fight in the Eternal Realm, even the highest level Eternal Realm fight in the Grand Essence Realm, couldn't attract Tao-confirming powerhouses. As soon as Ning Cheng came over, several experts on the main stage immediately noticed him. Ning Cheng always felt that the red-faced, ordinary-looking old man who stood up and spoke first was easier to talk to. Moreover, Ning Cheng always thought that this old man was stronger than Man Huishan. At this moment, the old man's position was also on the edge of the main stage. Therefore, Ning Cheng walked up to the old man and bowed to the old man. The old man smiled and nodded to Ning Cheng. You're lucky to get a chance to go to the extraterritorial spirit spring to transform your spirit essence. Remember not to waste this opportunity. The extraterritorial spirit spring isn't a place for ordinary people. The old man with a ruddy face and his ordinary appearance did not ignore Ning Cheng just because of the disparity in status between him and Ning Cheng. As such he did not ignore Ning Cheng. Hearing the old man's words, Ning Cheng felt a little puzzled. He had only entered the top 13. Didn't the extraterritorial spirit spring require him to enter the top 10? However, he knew that he didn't come here to ask about this matter, but because of the uneasiness in his heart. Now that the old man took the initiative to speak to him, Ning Cheng quickly bowed again. Many thanks for senior's encouragement. This junior is just a little worried. Oh, what are you worried about? The old man continued to ask with a smile. Ning Cheng wanted to hear these words. Now that the old man asked this question, he quickly replied, someone just sent me a voice transmission saying that I would die in a while. But I'm participating in the Grand Essence Great Meet. I don't know if I should escape immediately. Ning Cheng didn't care whether his intuition was true or not. He had to find shelter first. He would rather believe in this kind of dangerous intuition. If the few powerhouses on the main stage couldn't help him, he would give up on the extraterritorial spirit spring no matter how good it was. Humph, who dares to make trouble in the Grand Essence Great Meet? This time, it wasn't the ordinary-looking old man, but a middle-aged female cultivator sitting not far from the old man. Although it was just a cold snort, Ning Qing still felt uneasy. He quickly stabilized his mind and spoke, replying to Senior, "Someone indeed sent me a sound transmission a moment ago, telling me to wait, and that they would come to take my life in a moment." No one sent a voice transmission to Ning Qing. Ning Qing just wanted to find an excuse. If no one came to threaten him, he could say that he had informed the powerhouses hosting the competition in advance. That person didn't dare to show up. If someone showed up, it would allow his strategy to succeed. Ning Qing believed that with so many people here, the sect alliance's powerhouses would also want to save face. During the Grand Essence Great Meet, this person dared to threaten him with a voice transmission, and then dared to come to the Grand Essence Great Meet's public square to attack him. It was tantamount to slapping the sect alliance's face. Most likely, even the sect masters of the top 10 sects wouldn't dare to come here and slap their faces in such a way. Because Ning Cheng's voice wasn't low, many cultivators around heard Ning Cheng's words, and many people immediately turned their attention towards him. In any case, Ning Cheng was one of the top 13 in the Grand Essence Great Meet. Therefore, it was normal for people to pay attention to him. Some cultivators heard Ning Cheng say that someone sent him a voice transmission saying that they would come to kill him. They felt speechless and even started whispering to each other. Could this kind of voice transmission be trusted? Killing a disciple who entered the top 13 in the Grand Essence Great Meet's public square, even if that disciple was a rogue cultivator, it was impossible. If such a thing happened, then the Grand Essence Great Meet would become a joke. Even if someone wanted to kill you, they wouldn't send a voice transmission to you first. The ruddy-faced old man looked at Ning Cheng with a meaningful look and showed a warm smile. "You can rest assured. At least before you come out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, no one will do anything to you." He would like to thank several seniors. Choosing to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet is the best thing he has done in his life. Ning Cheng quickly bowed and thanked them on hearing these words. He had already achieved his goal. Whether his hunch was right or not, he should stop here. He had a hunch that this old man saw through his lies. Most likely, no one sent him a voice transmission. Fortunately, this old man didn't care about it, which made Ning Cheng feel very grateful. Star Stepping Tower's ground floor lobby, Xian Xiu and Wu Qihong were checking out. Wu Qihong's sea of consciousness recovered quickly. Plus, Ning Cheng said that he wouldn't come to the Star Stepping Tower again. Therefore, Xian Xiu felt that they didn't need to stay in such an expensive place. It was better to check out and leave the Heaven Essence Sacred City as soon as possible. If they checked out early, they could only get half of the spirit crystals back. Xian Xiu and Wu Qihong didn't care about it. After all, Ning Cheng was the one who paid for the spirit crystals. It was already good enough for them to get a refund. Senior Apprentice Sister Xiu, do you know where eldest Senior Apprentice Brother went? Wu Qihong looked at Xian Xiu returning the rent and asked with some doubts. Xian Xiu sighed and was about to speak when she heard a gasp. Then, a figure suddenly solidified in front of her and Wu Qihong. It was a black-robed woman with a veil over her face and a slender figure. Xian Xiu recognized this woman and quickly bowed. Junior Xian Xiu greets Senior Nya. Many thanks for Senior's help last time. Wu Qihong had already heard from Xian Xiu that the Star Stepping Tower's master was a woman surnamed Nya. Moreover, she was very powerful. Now that Xian Xiu bowed, he quickly returned the gesture. The black-robed woman nodded and her gaze fell on Wu Qihong. After a while, she asked in doubt, "Your sea of consciousness shattered. Are you in the process of repairing it?" Chapter 904. Wu Qihong didn't think too much about it and quickly replied, "Yes, Senior, this junior's sea of consciousness is indeed in the process of repairing itself." The woman surnamed Nie's eyes flashed with a strange light, and she looked at Wu Qihong for a while before exclaiming, "Good method, good spirit pill. Not only can it repair the sea of consciousness, but it can also boost one's spiritual consciousness and expand the sea of consciousness." Xin Xiu's heart sank when she heard these words. The person who had disguised himself as her eldest senior apprentice brother had told her not to reveal the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill. She never expected that someone would notice that her junior apprentice brother's sea of consciousness was in the process of repairing itself. If she had known about this, she would have stayed here for a while longer before leaving. The black-robed woman apparently saw Xin Xiu's hesitation and worry and spoke up with a slightly cold tone, "Take out the medicinal pill and let me have a look." Without any imposing aura pressure, just a few words, Xin Xiu couldn't help but shudder. She even wanted to take out the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills. But she quickly sobered up and bowed again, "Please forgive me, Senior. I promised the person who gave me the medicinal pill that I would not give it to others." The black-robed woman snorted, "I can turn you to ashes with a raise of my hand, and I can still take your medicinal pill. I can also search your soul. With your cultivation, you won't be able to hide anything. I promise that even if I kill you, no one from Heaven Essence Sacred City will come looking for me." Xin Xiu pursed her lips and didn't say a word. Ning Cheng was her junior apprentice brother Qihong's savior. Even if this black-robed woman could easily search her soul, she wouldn't say anything. Although Xin Xiu had low strength, she would never betray her savior. Seeing Xin Xiu not say a word despite using a soul search, the black-robed woman felt a little strange. She had seen too many cultivators who could abandon everything in order to survive. But today, seeing such a principled cultivator, she felt a little touched. The black-robed woman asked with a slow tone, "You don't want to say anything just because you promised someone?" Xin Xiu felt slightly relieved when she saw that the black-robed woman didn't immediately attack her. She bowed again and replied, "I never betray my savior. Even if Senior wants to attack, this junior won't say anything." "That person saved your life?" the black-robed woman asked with a frown. "No, you saved my junior brother's life." Xin Xiu's words allowed the black-robed woman to understand. The life-saving grace that Xin Xiu was talking about should be that person taking out a pill to repair her junior brother's sea of consciousness. "If you don't tell me, I can kill your junior brother right now." The black-robed woman frowned. Instead, Xin Xiu's tone calmed down. "If I betray my savior in order to live, junior brother, and I won't be able to live in peace. If my junior brother dies, I can die with him. He won't blame me. Yes, senior apprentice sister Xiu, I'd rather die again than live on." Wu Qihong, on hearing the black-robed woman's questioning of his eldest senior apprentice brother, spoke with the same resolute tone. When the black-clothed woman heard the words of this pair of apprentice sisters, she was a little startled. In this world where there was only the law of the jungle, where only the strong were respected, she actually met such a pair of senior and junior brothers. An inexplicable sense of shame rose in her heart. Once upon a time, she could die for the person she loved. Once upon a time, she also had this kind of happiness. But she destroyed all of it with her own hands. Not only did she plot against her savior, but she also plotted against the person she truly loved. She never thought that she, who once feared death, would end up doing something that made her feel endless regret. Just for that illusory promise, just for the position that she didn't want to think about again. When she saw him again, she saw that his strength was far from what she could reach even if she racked her brains. A crack appeared in her Tao heart, and it could never be restored. Even if she desperately found a planar splitting talisman and left the place that made her regret her actions, the wound in her heart would never heal. Although her strength grew stronger and stronger, there was always a scar in her Tao heart. She knew very well that this was the end of her life. The black-robed woman's mind wandered, but Xian Xiu and Wu Qihong didn't dare to leave and still stood respectfully in front of her. After a long time, the black-robed woman finally recovered. She sighed and spoke with a soft tone, "The person you're talking about is your elder brother Ji, right? Back then, I helped him in this place." Xian Xiu, on hearing the black-robed woman reveal the identity of the person who gave her the pill, suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness. The black-robed woman didn't threaten Xian Xiu again and spoke with a calm voice, "You can rest assured that I won't do anything to your elder brother Ji. Just let me see the pill. No matter what, I will do what I say." Xian Xiu didn't continue to resist. The other party already knew the origin of the pill, so it didn't make any sense for her to object. She took out a jade bottle containing 4 Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills from her ring and handed it to the black-robed woman. The black-robed woman nodded to Xian Xiu, opened the jade bottle, and poured a pill into her hand. When her gaze fell on the transparent pill in her hand, a faint fragrance permeated into her sea of consciousness. She hadn't swallowed the pill yet, but her sea of consciousness had already turned clear, and a trace of a powerful aura filled her sea of consciousness. The black-robed woman's face immediately turned excited. She had never seen a pill that could help one's spiritual consciousness and sea of consciousness so much. Moreover, this pill was also useful to her. This was a very precious pill that ignored one's cultivation. Most of the pills that ignored cultivation were used for healing. However, this pill was useful to one's cultivation. Moreover, it even targeted one's sea of consciousness. Her Tao heart had a scar on it, causing her cultivation to stagnate. Every time she wanted to advance, her sea of consciousness would always feel a little weak. Therefore, the benefits of this pill for her were not ordinary. It was naturally impossible to use this pill to repair her Tao heart, but this pill could definitely help her cultivation take another step forward. After hesitating for a moment, the black-robed woman still handed the jade bottle to Xian Xiu. Xian Xiu took the jade bottle with apprehension and once again called out, "Senior." The black-robed woman took a deep breath and tried to calm down her tone before speaking, "I said that I wouldn't do anything to your elder brother Ji. However, this pill is also useful to me, so I want to make a deal with him. You can rest assured that if he doesn't agree to the deal, then just forget about what I said." Xian Xiu felt slightly relieved and spoke up carefully, "Senior, if elder brother Ji doesn't agree to the deal, then he definitely doesn't have this pill. I still have 4 medicinal pills here, which I can give to Senior." The black-robed woman showed a slight smile, "You also call me Senior. Even if I wanted these 4 medicinal pills, I wouldn't ask you to give them to me. You tell me where that elder brother Ji went, and I'll trade with him. If he really doesn't have it, I'll trade with you." Xian Xiu sighed in her heart. She knew that even if she didn't say it, this black-robed woman could easily find her elder brother Ji. Now that the black-robed woman asked about it, she didn't hesitate, "I'm not sure where elder brother Ji went. But I guess he might have gone to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. A Tao sculpting pill deity has the strength to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet?" The black-robed woman muttered to herself in doubt. "Tao sculpting pill deity?" Xian Xiu asked in surprise. She knew that Ning Qing should be a pill emperor, but there were too few pill deities. Was this Tao sculpting pill deity who disguised himself as Ji he a Tao sculpting pill deity? The black-robed woman pointed to the jade bottle in Xian Xiu's hand and said, "To refine this pill, one must at least be a Tao sculpting pill deity. This pill ignores one's cultivation. It's not of a high grade, but it's extremely precious. You really can't take it out casually." Ning Qing got the assurance from the several powerhouses presiding over the competition. Although he still felt a little nervous, he felt a little better than before. He only hoped that it was just an illusion. Ning Cheng's hope only lasted for half an incense stick worth of time when a majestic aura pressed down on the Heaven Essence public square. Those with weaker cultivations even felt an illusion under this majestic aura. As long as this aura continued for a while, their minds would collapse. At this moment, almost everyone looked up at the sky. This kind of aura could only be suppressed by a second-step Tao confirming expert. Ning Cheng's heart sank when he felt this powerful aura. This person hadn't even arrived yet, but he already knew who it was. It was definitely Man Huishan. His intuition wasn't wrong. There really was danger. What made him feel a little relieved was that Man Huishan had used the wrong method. If he hadn't warned Man Huishan in advance, Man Huishan's method would have been the correct one. This was a show of strength to tell all the powerhouses in the Heaven Essence public square how strong he, Man Huishan, was. Anyone who wanted to go against him, Man Huishan, would have to pay a certain price. According to Ning Cheng's conjecture, after Man Huishan showed his strength, he would leave a way out in front of the several powerhouses presiding over the Grand Essence Great Meet. He even had a very respectful attitude towards the hosts, giving face to the powerhouses hosting the tournament in front of the many cultivators. He would first show his strength so that people wouldn't fall out with him. Then, he would lower his stance and leave a way out before taking Ning Cheng away. It's just that he didn't expect Ning Cheng to warn him in advance. If the Grand Essence Great Meet's presiding powerhouses threw him out under such circumstances, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. The middle-aged female cultivator, who had previously scolded Ning Cheng and said who had the guts to come to the Grand Essence Great Meet and cause trouble, immediately stood up. Not only her, but the other Tao confirming powerhouses on the main stage also stood up. The old man with a ruddy face and a pleasant expression frowned slightly. He was sure that Ning Cheng hadn't received any threatening voice transmission. But now, someone really came over and told everyone in such a domineering manner. Did Man Huishan come here for Ji He? Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon, what do you mean by this? The middle-aged female cultivator stared at Man Huishan, who had fallen from the sky, and spoke with an unhappy tone. However, she secretly felt shocked at Man Huishan's strength. This kind of oppressive aura definitely surpassed hers. Man Huishan instantly converged his oppressive aura and cupped his fists towards the several powerhouses on the stage with a smile on his face. I'm really sorry. It's because I felt the passion of the younger generation fighting that I felt a bit of resonance in my heart. In a hurry, I couldn't suppress this enthusiasm. It's truly a shame. Man Huishan would like to express his apologies to all the senior apprentice brothers and senior apprentice sisters. Man Huishan's politeness and humbleness in his tone and posture immediately eased the pressure on the several powerhouses presiding over the stage. The strength Man Huishan showed that he was a powerhouse among powerhouses. Now that Man Huishan took the initiative to humble himself, no one dared to take the initiative to confront Man Huishan. Chapter 905. Ning Cheng sighed. He knew that Man Huishan had succeeded. He didn't know if the experts on the stage would help him or not. If these people didn't help him, then he could only try using the breaking boundary talisman. However, Ning Cheng didn't think that he would have a chance to use the breaking boundary talisman while Man Huishan locked him down. People really couldn't be too greedy. If he hadn't been greedy for the extraterritorial spirit spring, it would have been strange if Man Huishan could find him. The middle-aged female cultivator's tone also softened. Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon, if you have nothing else to do, please sit down and continue watching the tournament. Man Huishan cupped his fists again and said, this time, I came here to see the future geniuses of my Grand Essence realm and to take away someone. After saying that, Man Huishan's gaze fell on Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng weren't in the top 25 of the Grand Essence Great Meet, he would have taken Ning Cheng away a long time ago. After all, this place wasn't the wild, and he had to take care of the experts presiding over the Great Meet. Sometimes, he couldn't just do whatever he wanted. The middle-aged female cultivator looked at Ning Cheng with a hint of displeasure in her eyes. She didn't expect Ning Cheng to take advantage of them. If Ning Cheng hadn't greeted her loudly, she wouldn't have hesitated to say, please. Ning Cheng, on seeing that the middle-aged female cultivator didn't speak up for him, understood that this woman was afraid. He felt a little disappointed. From the looks of it, he had to control everything in his hands. Without strength, all schemes would be in vain. The red-faced old man chuckled, Dragon Emperor, if you want to take away someone, then you can. As long as it's not someone from the top 13 of my Grand Essence Great Meat. Man Huishan laughed and cupped his fists, many thanks, Holy Emperor Extreme Void. I won't take away anyone from the top 13. I just want to take away this cultivator named Ji He. It's just a little personal matter with him. Man Huishan's voice suddenly stopped. He saw the array formation display clearly showing that among the top 13 people who advanced to the next round, Ji He was one of them. How was this possible? How long had it been since Ji He entered the top 25 to him arriving here? At most, it would have been an hour. Moreover, when he arrived, he had already scanned Ning Cheng with his spiritual consciousness and knew that Ning Cheng hadn't done anything within the hour. Suddenly, Man Huishan thought of one of the possibilities, a buy. Sure enough, just as Man Huishan figured it out, the old man called Holy Emperor Extreme Void shook his head and said, Dragon Emperor, it's really unfortunate. This Ji He just advanced to the top 13 with a buy. Man Huishan's face turned a little ugly, and his tone fluctuated slightly, everyone, this person shouldn't be Ji He. He pretended to be Ji He's identity and killed my 9th son, Man Juren, in the mystic realm. I must take him away. Whether Ning Cheng killed Man Juren or not, Man Huishan wasn't sure. It didn't matter, as long as he could take Ning Cheng away. With Man Huishan's words, even the red-faced old man, Holy Emperor Extreme Void, who had previously spoken up for Ning Cheng, couldn't continue to speak up for him. He had already seen through Ning Cheng's disguise a long time ago. If not for Man Huishan, he wouldn't have cared about such things. But now, Man Huishan came and directly pointed out that Ning Cheng not only changed his appearance but also killed Man Juren. If he still spoke up for Ning Cheng at this time, then it would mean that he would end up becoming enemies with the entire barbarian dragon clan. If Ning Cheng's origin wasn't ordinary, then he wouldn't have helped him. But now, Ning Cheng clearly showed that he was a rogue cultivator with no background. Who would want to help him? Since Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't continue to speak, the others didn't want to draw hatred for no reason. Ji He killed Man Juren in disguise, so it was understandable that Man Huishan would take him away. However, no one took the initiative to help Man Huishan or ask him to take Ning Cheng away. Seeing this situation, Man Huishan sneered in his heart. He knew that he had succeeded. Now, he didn't need to say anything. He just needed to take away the fake Ji He. Ning Cheng's heart sank, but he didn't stand up to refute. In such a situation, refuting would be meaningless. Man Huishan suddenly grabbed him and took him away. No one would stand up to help him. No matter what he said, it would be useless. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness connected to the breaking boundary talisman, and he prepared to burn all bridges to activate the talisman. Wait, Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon. After all, Ji He is in the top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meat. It would be unfair to take him away just based on one side of the story. Holy Emperor Extreme Void suddenly spoke up and stopped Man Huishan. After he finished speaking, he smiled and said to Ning Cheng, Ji He, you should also tell us the whole story. We host the Grand Essence Great Meat here. Not only do we have to ensure fairness in the competition, but we also have to ensure the safety of the participating disciples. Ning Cheng looked at Holy Emperor Extreme Void gratefully and nodded. He understood that Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't really want him to tell the whole story, but to give him time to escape. It didn't matter if he used talismans or other means. As long as he had the means, he could use this time to escape. Ji He, I thought you had left. I didn't expect you to still be here. Looks like my luck is really good. A crisp woman's voice arrived, and a woman in black with a veil covering her face appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng quickly stopped activating the breaking boundary talisman and cupped his fists towards the woman. Gee, he greets Senior Nye. The black-robed woman smiled at Ning Cheng. It looks like you're in a bad situation, huh? Ning Cheng nodded. Yes, I didn't know that the Grand Essence Great Meat doesn't even have personal safety. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have participated in this competition. If it weren't for Senior Holy Emperor Extreme Void, I'm afraid I would have become the first cultivator to get taken away in the Great Meat. Ning Cheng's words made the faces of the several powerhouses hosting the Great Meat turn ugly. Nevertheless, these people still greeted the black-robed woman. Star-stepping Tower Master, this G he came to participate in the competition in disguise. He's involved in the murder of my son, Man Juren. I want to take him away. Man Huishan saw the black-robed woman coming over and immediately felt a bad feeling in his heart. The black-robed woman looked at Man Huishan coldly. Are you the host of the Grand Essence Great Meat? Or is there a rule in the Grand Essence Great Meat that forbids participation in disguise? The black-robed woman spoke so rudely that Man Huishan couldn't keep his face. He was a dragon emperor, and when it came to reputation, he was more than 10,000 times better than this black-robed woman. So you want to stand up for him? Should my son, Man Juren, be killed by him? Man Juren couldn't find the words to refute the other party, so his tone turned cold. Although this star-stepping tower master was powerful, he didn't feel afraid. The black-robed woman spoke up with disdain. Your son, Man Juren. That idiot who acted arrogantly in my star-stepping tower and ended up having his hands and feet broken by me? It's good luck for such a person to live until now. You. Man Huishan didn't expect this black-robed woman to not give him any face. Feeling angry, a powerful aura gushed out, causing the entire space to tremble. The cultivators who came to watch the competition, on seeing Man Huishan and the star-stepping tower master, almost ran away in fear. If these two really started fighting, only a few people would be able to escape. The Heaven Essence public square suddenly turned chaotic. Countless cultivators rushed out in a hurry. The few powerhouses hosting the competition on the main stage quickly rushed out and stopped the two people. If Man Huishan and this black-robed woman fought in the Heaven Essence Sacred City's public square, the entire Heaven Essence Sacred City would turn to ashes. After the two people stopped, the public square regained its order. Some fearful cultivators quietly retreated. Man Huishan knew that the other party didn't fear him and could only give a hateful snort. But he didn't leave. If he didn't take Ning Cheng away today, he wouldn't give up. Ning Cheng quickly cupped his fists towards the black-robed woman and said, "Many thanks for Senior's life-saving grace." The black-robed woman showed a faint smile. "Don't thank me. I'm here to trade with you. If you don't have what I need, then I'll leave immediately. Whether you live or die has nothing to do with me." Ning Cheng knew that there was no free lunch in this world. Therefore, he no longer thanked the other party and asked in a deep voice, "I wonder what Senior wants to trade with me." "I want that medicinal pill." "How many do you have?" The black-robed woman stared at Ning Cheng and asked. Although her expression remained calm, she felt nervous in her heart. She was afraid that Ning Cheng would say that he didn't have such medicinal pills on him. Ning Cheng also felt relieved. Although the other party didn't say it clearly, he understood what medicinal pills this black-robed woman wanted. He even felt a little grateful towards Xin Xiu and Wu Qihong. If not for these two, the other party wouldn't have known that he had the Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pill. Ning Cheng didn't hesitate to take out 10 jade bottles and put them in the black-robed woman's hands. "I only have these 10 bottles. I'll give them all to Senior." These 10 bottles of medicinal pills were originally meant for Qi Shizingsing. But now, he had to take them out to save his life. Transactions were divided into many parts. One of them was a transaction where one couldn't bargain. Ning Cheng faced such a transaction right now. He felt helpless and could only accept his fate. His life was now in the hands of others. Since someone had finally come to help him, he didn't want to make any mistakes. The black-robed woman naturally knew about the preciousness of the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill. She originally wanted to get 10 or 20 pills from Ning Cheng. But she didn't expect Ning Cheng to take out so many pills at once. 10 bottles at a time. These standard jade bottles contain 12 pills per bottle. In other words, the other party had taken out 120 Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills at once. The black-robed woman couldn't wait to open a jade bottle. But when her spiritual consciousness fell on the 12 top-quality Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills, an extremely pure aura that could cleanse one's sea of consciousness poured in. It almost made her drunk. Although the black-robed woman closed the jade bottle after opening it, the spiritual consciousness of the several experts on the public square still caught a trace of a refreshing aura that could cleanse one's sea of consciousness. Was it the spirit essence pill? The legendary spirit essence pill wasn't this powerful, right? Moreover, the pill recipe for the spirit essence pill had long since been lost. What's more, the divine chalcedony used to refine the spirit essence pill was an extremely rare treasure. Seeing the black-robed woman put away all the jade bottles with joy in her eyes, the several experts felt a little itchy in their hearts. They couldn't wait to take out the black-robed woman's jade bottles and have a look. Everyone here knew about the power of the Star Stepping Tower's master. They also knew that the black-robed woman dared to look at the jade bottles in front of them. Chapter 906. Yes, that's the medicinal pill. Thank you, Ji He. What do you want? Speak. The black-robed woman's tone suddenly relaxed, and her gaze towards Ning Cheng turned a lot friendlier. Ning Cheng bowed again with cupped fists and said, I just need to wait for the great meet to end. Senior can guarantee that I can reach the extraterritorial spirit spring safely. As for anything else, I don't want anything. He was a Tao sculpting pill deity, an artifact crafting expert, and had piles of divine grasses. For him, spirit crystals were secondary. The most important thing was to save his life and go to the extraterritorial spirit spring to transform his spirit essence. Moreover, Ning Cheng knew very well that in the face of such a powerhouse, the less he asked for, the better. Even if the black-robed woman opened the jade bottle on the spot, he couldn't show even the slightest dissatisfaction. He could tell that this black-robed woman was an absolute powerhouse. At the same time, the other party had the same thoughts as him. She didn't treat him as an equal. The first factor she considered was her own interests. What made Ning Cheng feel relieved was that this black-robed woman was a person who kept her promises. After trading with him, she didn't give him anything but instead asked him what he needed. The black-robed woman nodded. Ning Cheng gave her 10 bottles of Empyrean consciousness transmutation pills, which made her feel very satisfied. She naturally didn't care about Ning Cheng's request. Originally, she planned to take out a summoning card for Ning Cheng. Once Ning Cheng came out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, she could protect Ning Cheng again. But after thinking about it, she didn't do so. First, Ning Cheng was just an ant-like existence. After this transaction, whether he lived or died in the extraterritorial spirit spring would have nothing to do with her. Second, she didn't fear Man Huishan, but she also didn't want to offend someone like Man Huishan for a little eternal cultivator she didn't know. Okay. From now on, until we enter the extraterritorial spirit spring, I will protect you. The black-robed woman said with a calm tone. Ning Cheng didn't feel much disappointed. It was already a big surprise for this black-robed woman to promise to protect him in the extraterritorial spirit spring. He couldn't expect everyone to be the same as him. In fact, if he and the black-robed woman exchanged identities, he would at least make another promise, which was to protect the other party in the extraterritorial spirit spring. The woman in black would not do such a thing, or rather, even if she said so, he could not take it seriously. By the time he came out of the extraterritorial spirit spring, the favor of giving him the pills would have already been used up. Whether or not the other party would still remember him was another matter. Although Man Huishan felt extremely unhappy, he could only swallow his anger. Fortunately, this woman gave him a bit of face. The cultivators who went to the extraterritorial spirit spring stayed there for at most 5 years, while the ones who stayed there for at least a year. He, Man Huishan, couldn't afford to waste this much time. Many thanks, Senior. As long as this junior reaches the extraterritorial spirit spring, the transaction with Senior will come to an end. At that time, Senior will no longer need to do anything for this junior. Ning Cheng cupped his fists in gratitude. When the black-robed woman heard these words, she looked at Ning Cheng in amazement. Although Ning Cheng had spoken these words out of politeness, she naturally understood the meaning behind it. That was, after this, no one owed anyone anything. You are you, I am me. A puny eternal cultivator dared to speak such words to a powerhouse like her. It showed that he had some guts. She suddenly thought of that man. This little eternal cultivator in front of her had a similar personality to that man. Thinking of this, the black-robed woman froze once again. Over the years, she had been to countless places, experienced countless interfaces and positional planes, but she had never seen a powerhouse like that man. Yet, this little eternal cultivator in front of her gave her the feeling of a powerhouse at that moment. The black-robed woman shook her head and tried to put these messy thoughts aside. It must have been an illusion. Ning Cheng also felt a little relieved when he saw that Man Huishan didn't continue. If Man Huishan really wanted to fight the black-robed woman, Ning Cheng guessed that he would do everything he could to escape. It would be fine if the black-robed woman could crush Man Huishan. But if the black-robed woman and Man Huishan were equally matched, this star-stepping tower master wouldn't care about Ning Cheng's life. The few powerhouses presiding over the Grand Essence Great Meet, on seeing that the star-stepping tower master and Man Huishan didn't continue to argue about Ning Cheng's matter, also stopped. As for the others, no one cared about whether he was telling the truth or not. Without Man Huishan's interference, the top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meet quickly came out. Lu Yixian, Gua Haoge, Ji Pingzhong, and Yining occupied 4 of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. In addition, there was also Shui Yueka of the 9 revolving sacred Dao Pond, Yan Xishuang of the 7-star sacred shrine, Mu Shuifeng of the Grand Essence Domains Mu clan, Ren Jinj of the Big Dipper 7 Peaks, Jun Yen of the Grand Essence Sea's Silver Dragon clan, Zhongming Yuxiu of the Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace, and Fuzi Fuyue of the Grand Essence Realms Fuzi clan. Including the 2 rogue cultivators, Aiden and Ji He, there were 13 people in total. Ning Cheng paid some attention to Fuzi Fuyue of the Fuzi clan. He had killed a fellow from the Fuzi clan, but he didn't expect to see someone from the Fuzi clan here. This Fuzi Fuyue looked similar to the Fuzi clan he killed. He wore silver robes, had silver hair, and blue eyes. The only difference was that Ning Cheng couldn't tell whether Fuzi Fuyue was a man or a woman. Just as Ning Cheng wondered how to select 10 out of 13 people, Holy Emperor Extreme Void once again stood on the battle stage and spoke with a clear voice, the top 13 of the Grand Essence Great Meet have come out. Just like in the past, 10 people will go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. If you don't want to go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, please stand on the battle stage. Ning Cheng felt a little speechless. If they didn't want to go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, why did they fight so hard before? Wasn't the reason why they fought so hard to get to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring? What puzzled Ning Cheng was that someone really stood up. Moreover, it wasn't just 3 people. 4 cultivators landed on the battle stage at the same time. Yan Xishuang was among them. Apart from Yan Xishuang, there was also Ren Jinj of the Big Dipper 7 Peaks, Jun Yen of the Grand Essence Sea's Silver Dragon clan, and Fuzi Fuyue of the Fuzi clan. Seeing the four people standing on the battle stage at the same time, Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't seem surprised. Instead, he continued, since the four of you don't want to go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, we can only continue to choose 3 people to enter the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion through battles. Ning Qing understood that the Grand Essence domain also had the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion. Since these people could give up on the extraterritorial Spirit Spring to transform into Spirit Essence, it showed that the spirit techniques in the Spirit Technique Pavilion weren't simple. To go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring to transform into Spirit Essence, Ning Cheng had to participate in the Grand Essence Great Meet. The Grand Essence Great Meet wasn't just about going to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, but it also involved the distribution of resources between the major sections. At this moment, he also learned that 3 people could enter the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion from the Grand Essence Great Meet. Yan Xishuang looked at Ning Cheng and suddenly said, Lord Holy Emperor, since there are 4 people who want to go to the Spirit Technique Pavilion, then I'll withdraw and choose to go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. Even if Yan Xishuang only glanced at Ning Cheng, Holy Emperor Extreme Void understood Yan Xishuang's meaning. This woman most likely knew the cultivator who impersonated Ji He. She didn't want to cause any problems and wanted Ji He to enter the extraterritorial Spirit Spring as soon as possible. Ning Cheng also understood this point and nodded gratefully to Yan Xishuang. He now had to rely on the unreliable Star Stepping Tower's master. This kind of powerhouse had a strange temperament. Who knew if she would suddenly leave? Yan Xishuang also understood that she had to give up the opportunity to go to the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion because he saved her life. Otherwise, among the 4 people who stood up, Yan Xishuang would have definitely won a spot. Sure enough, Ning Cheng felt the black-robed woman standing on the side breathe a sigh of relief. It seems that she didn't want to stay here for too long. The next round of the Grand Essence Great Meet will continue tomorrow. The 10 disciples heading to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring, please follow me. The disciples heading to the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion will follow Holy Emperor Lingzhen. After Holy Emperor Extreme Void finished speaking, he casually threw out an airship-type artifact, and the people heading to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring quickly landed on Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship. Ning Cheng also cupped his fists towards the black-robed woman and thanked her, many thanks for Senior's help. This junior will go first. The black-robed woman nodded to Ning Cheng, you can go to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring with peace of mind. I promise I won't let anything happen to you. Ning Cheng didn't doubt the black-robed woman's words because Man Huishan didn't move. Once Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship took off, Man Huishan wouldn't dare to intercept it midway. Ning Cheng felt grateful towards Holy Emperor Extreme Void. He had nothing to do with this old man, nor did he make any promises to him. However, this old man had helped him in every way. Although it was a casual help, it was still very important to him. After the airship took off, Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't appear again. The 10 disciples on the airship were all powerhouses in the Eternal Realm. But after boarding the airship, no one spoke a word. The entire airship remained silent. Ji He, you don't have to worry. Holy Emperor Barbarian Dragon wouldn't dare to intercept Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship, let alone react to the disciples heading to the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. Yan Xishuang took the initiative to walk over and calm Ning Cheng down. Ning Cheng spoke up with sincerity, many thanks for your help, Senior Apprentice Sister Yan. If you need my help in the future, please feel free to speak up. Yan Xishuang showed a slight smile, you've already helped me. If you hadn't helped me, even if I could escape, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to participate in this Grand Essence Great Meet. By the way, when the real Great Meet starts, you have to be careful of Guokaiga. He seems to have a lot of hatred for you. The real Great Meet? Ning Cheng asked in confusion, didn't we already compete against each other? Yan Xishuang shook her head, we just got the qualification to enter the extraterritorial Spirit Spring. The real competition is between the top 10. Every time we enter the extraterritorial spirit spring, only a few people come out. It's not surprising. Just be careful. After saying that, Yan Xishuang also walked to the side and sat down, no longer speaking. Ning Qing didn't continue to ask. He didn't even ask about the Grand Essence Spirit Technique Pavilion. If Yan Xishuang hadn't reminded him, how could he have known that the real Grand Essence Great Meet would only start after entering the extraterritorial spirit spring? Yan Xishuang was currently resting. Since Yan Xishuang said that they would have to fight later, then let's fight. After entering the extraterritorial spirit spring, he didn't fear anyone here. Not to mention Guokaiga, even if it was Lui Xian or Yining, so what? Chapter 907. As the airship got faster and faster, Ning Qing estimated that it had already surpassed the maximum speed of his starry sky wheel. After 2 days, the airship finally stopped. After Ning Qing followed everyone out of the airship, he found that the airship was now in a void. During the 2 days on the airship, he had refined a few more batches of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills and left 2 bottles of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation Pills in his room to give to Holy Emperor Extreme Void. Holy Emperor Extreme Void got off the airship and spoke with a smile, "I'll open the restriction array here. You can go in and teleport to the extraterritorial spirit spring." With that, Holy Emperor Extreme Void took out 2 jade cards and sealed them in the void. At the same time, he raised his hand and formed some restrictions. A void gate appeared in front of everyone. Everyone bowed and thanked Divine Emperor Extreme Void before quickly entering the void gate. Ning Qing thanked Holy Emperor Extreme Void and stepped through the void gate. But the moment he stepped through the void gate, he received a sound transmission from Holy Emperor Extreme Void. "Little fellow, thank you for the 2 bottles of medicinal pills. Remember to take care of the girl who gave up on the Spirit Technique Pavilion for you. People should know how to be grateful." After Ning Qing heard these 2 sentences, his figure had already entered the void gate. Seeing that Holy Emperor Extreme Void didn't do anything to him, Ning Qing felt very lucky. After entering the void gate, it led to a long void passage. If these eternal powerhouses on Holy Emperor Extreme Void's airship had remained respectful and courteous. But as soon as they entered the void gate, almost everyone exuded a sharp killing intent. Guohauga's killing intent fell on Ning Qing's body, without even half a shred of concealment. The void passage was very long, and the 10 people walked for more than half an hour before arriving at a void teleportation array. This teleportation array looked like it was floating, but Ning Qing knew that it was because of the array formation. This teleportation array was built on top of a concealment array formation, and even he couldn't see any clues about it. Ning Qing saw the other cultivators rushing into the teleportation array, so he also followed suit. The teleportation array had 10 huge grooves, and each cultivator took out 10,000 spirit crystals and put them into one of the grooves. Ning Qing also took out 10,000 spirit crystals and put them into the groove next to him. After the 100,000 spirit crystals fell on the teleportation array gave out a buzzing sound. Then, a white light started to fluctuate. Soon, Ning Qing felt his body lighten, and his entire body was teleported away. A burst of dizziness washed over him, and when Ning Qing sobered up, he found himself standing on top of a boulder. This boulder had a radius of at least 1,000 feet, and he did not see any transmission arrays around him. Ning Qing had a very deep understanding of array formations, as such he knew that this was one of the most difficult transmission arrays to arrange. Sensing the extremely rich spirit essence qi, Ning Qing could not help but take in a deep breath. Not only was the God's spiritual qi here dense, but it also contained a pure aura. Even if Ning Qing hadn't started cultivating yet, he could already feel that if he cultivated here, the effects would be much better than cultivating with spirit crystals and medicinal pills alone. And this was still outside. Once they entered the extraterritorial artifact, how powerful would the God's spiritual qi be? Ning Qing finally understood why the extraterritorial spirit spring was so famous. At the end of the boulder, there were 10 more stone doors. Ning Qing didn't know anything about the extraterritorial spirit spring. Therefore, he guessed that these 10 stone doors should be the entrance to the extraterritorial spirit spring. Ning Qing quickly felt the difference between the 10 stone doors. The first stone door on the left had the densest spirit essence qi, but the spirit essence qi gradually weakened. At the 10th stone door, the spirit essence qi was the weakest. In the middle of each stone door was a groove. Ning Qing didn't need to test it to know that this groove was where the qualification card was placed. From the looks of it, to open the stone door, one had to put the qualification card in it. After understanding this, Ning Qing immediately wanted to go to the first stone door. But then he stopped, because he saw that no one was moving. It stood to reason that at this time, everyone should be fighting for the stone doors. Why were they all so disciplined? Yan Xishuang's sound transmission arrived in time. Ji he, these 10 stone doors lead to the extraterritorial spirit spring. The first stone door on the left leads to the origin of the extraterritorial spirit spring, which has the best effect. The spirit spring's aura inside is also the most abundant, and it can't be consumed at all. No matter how deep your celestial essence is, this spirit spring will never run out. This stone door should belong to Lu Yixian, so don't fight for it. The density of the spirit spring's aura in the other 9 spirit springs gradually weakens, but each of them has a separate spirit spring's mouth. In general, it's more than enough. If it's not enough, you can use some spirit crystals to replace it. Only when 10 people choose at the same time and put the qualification card in the 10 grooves would the 10 stone doors open at the same time. When it comes to choosing the stone door, there will be a fight. Remember not to choose the first 3 stone doors. I suggest you wait for Guohauge to choose first before you choose. I choose the first one. Lu Yixian's voice turned cold as he stood directly in front of the first stone door. Aiden showed a smile. I'm sorry, but I'll also choose the first one. Yi Ning directly brought out her golden book and stared at Lu Yixian and Aiden with a cold gaze. Apparently, she also wanted to choose the first stone door on the left. Just the first stone door was enough to change the situation. Without a fight, there wouldn't be any results. I choose the second stone door. A white-skinned woman walked out and stood in front of the second stone door. Ning Qing felt a little surprised. He naturally knew this person. She was Zhongmeng Yuxiu from the Grand Essence Sea's Sunken Fish Palace. Ning Qing had also seen Zhongmeng Yuxiu's fights. Although this woman wasn't one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, she should have the same strength as Ji Pingzhong. However, Ning Qing didn't believe that she could occupy the second stone door. Ning Qing hadn't seen Yi Ning and Lu Yixian's full strength. Therefore, Ning Qing still felt that Zhongmeng Yuxiu wasn't an opponent for either of them. Moreover, that Aiden wasn't any weaker than Yi Ning and Lu Yixian. As for why he made such a comparison, it was because Ning Qing had already decided on the first stone door. Therefore, the others naturally had to choose the other stone doors. Sure enough, only Zhongmeng Yuxiu chose the second stone door, and no one competed with her. I choose the fourth stone door. Mu Shuifeng spoke up. Mu Shuifeng wasn't one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Therefore, Ning Qing felt that he chose the fourth stone door. I'll also choose the fourth stone door. This time, it was Yan Xishuang who stood up. Since 2 people chose the same stone door, it meant that a fight was about to break out. Seeing that Ning Qing hadn't moved yet, Yan Xishuang's voice came over again. Ji he, when you choose the stone door, if you end up fighting with others, you must save some of your strength to protect yourself. Otherwise, you might end up dead. Yan Xishuang felt a little worried about Ning Qing. If others lost, they might choose the stone door behind them. But if Ning Qing lost, he might end up dead. It was because Ning Qing was a rogue cultivator with no background. 9 revolving sacred Dao Pan Shui Yueka seemed to know that her strength was limited and chose the 6th stone door. Since no one chose the 5th stone door, no one competed with her for the 6th stone door for the time being. Neither Guohauge nor Ji Pingzhong chose the stone door. However, the killing intent radiating from the two grew thicker and thicker, and it kept enveloping Ningcheng. Guohauge kept staring at Ningcheng with a cold gaze. Ningcheng understood what he meant. That is, after he chose the stone door, he would fight for it. After killing Ningcheng in the fight, he would then continue to choose the stone door. Ningcheng spoke up unhurriedly, I choose the first stone door. Everyone felt shocked by Ningcheng's choice. Even Yan Xishuang couldn't help but look at Ningcheng in disbelief. Ningcheng already had Guohauge as an enemy, yet he still chose to provoke powerhouses like Lu Yixian and Yi Ning. Lu Yixian looked at Ningcheng with cold eyes and spoke with a flat tone, you have guts, but you used the wrong method. If you choose this stone door, you'll end up dead. As soon as Lu Yixian's words came out, the rest understood Ningcheng's meaning. It turned out that Ningcheng chose the first stone door to avoid Guohauge, who wanted to kill him. If that was the case, then it was a mistake. As long as you chose the first stone door, you wouldn't be allowed to choose the second stone door without a fight. If you wanted to beg for mercy, you could just take out your ring. Guohauge and Ji Pingzhong also understood Ningcheng's meaning. Therefore, he sneered and said, I'm sorry, but I also chose the first stone door. After saying that, he cupped his fists towards Lu Yixian and Yi Ning, you two, I'll only fight one round at most. Maybe I'll choose again. Lu Yixian and Yi Ning remained calm and ignored Guohauge. They understood that Guohauge wanted to kill Ningcheng before leaving. As one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, Guohauge's status couldn't compare to them. Therefore, they didn't need to care too much about him. Guohauge then turned to Ji Pingzhong, who was eager to try, and said, Brother Ji, if I find any trash that escapes the net, you can help me get rid of them. It was a greeting to Ji Pingzhong. In case he couldn't kill Ningcheng, Ji Pingzhong could continue to fight Ningcheng. Even if Ningcheng chose the 10th stone door, Ji Pingzhong would still come forward to pick a fight with him. Lu Yixian no longer cared about Ningcheng and Guohauge's personal grievances. Instead, he calmly looked at Yi Ning and Aiden, which one of you will go first? Aiden smiled and waved his hand, causing a black smoke to surround him. I'll go first. It's my luck to experience the power of the head of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. The moment Lu Yixian and Aiden started fighting, Guohauge's domain swept towards Ningcheng. He then raised his hand and shot out 5 azure lotus nails, which unscrupulously enveloped Ningcheng. Ningcheng showed a cold smile and brought out a middle-rank spirit artifact long spear. At the same time, his domain also pressed down on Guohauge without reservation. In this place, he didn't have anything to hide. Apart from not using the 7 bridges spirit technique, he had other means to kill Guohauge. So what if he was a River Luo sacred sect's sacred son? He had already killed Man Juran of the barbarian dragon clan, so killing Guohauge wouldn't be a big deal. Guohauge had always wanted to kill him, but Ningcheng wasn't a person who repaid evil with good. If someone wanted to kill him, he would always use his fists to fight back. Guohauge had never put Ningcheng in his eyes. Moreover, he had seen Ningcheng's moves before. In his opinion, he could kill Ningcheng in less than half an incense stick's worth of time. But when Ningcheng's domain pressed down on him, Guohauge found that not only did his domain fail to restrain the other party, but it even started to shatter under the suppression of the other party's domain. Not good, he didn't show his true strength in the great meet. Guohauge instantly understood what was going on. Cold sweat oozing out of his back, Guohauge frantically burned his essence blood to stimulate the 5 azure lotus nails. He wanted to get out of Ningcheng's domain. Chapter 908. Under Guohauge's frenzied attack, the 5 azure lotus nails erupted with thousands of azure-colored lights. These azure-colored lights instantly fused together, forming a circle of azure-colored ripples. Bang bang bang. The azure-colored ripples collided with Ning Cheng's domain, producing bursts of muffled bangs. Ning Cheng's domain suppressing Guahauga finally broke free. Even Ning Cheng's spear patterns tore apart under the waves of azure-colored ripples. When he felt the pressure on his body lighten, Guahauga breathed a sigh of relief. Without any hesitation, the azure-colored ripples from the 5 azure lotus nails split again, turning into 5 bursting azure-colored killing intents. This time, the explosive power of the azure-colored killing intents was too strong and directly broke through Ning Cheng's domain. For Guahauga, even if he had to consume some of his lifespan, he wanted to take this opportunity to kill Ning Cheng. This was his most powerful spirit technique, specifically for cultivators with stronger domains than him. This spirit technique was called the Azure Lotus Dragging Nail. Once he met an opponent with a stronger domain, his 5 azure lotus nails could fuse into azure-colored ripples, blocking the opponent's domain and allowing him to escape from danger. Once he escaped from the opponent's domain, the azure-colored ripples would split again. After splitting, the azure-colored ripples would ignore space and nail the opponent in the void in the shortest possible time. His 5 azure lotus nails already had the effect of binding the opponent. Coupled with his space-related spirit technique, the 5 azure lotus nails instantly locked onto the opponent. This spirit technique allowed him to kill several opponents stronger than him. The only drawback was that this spirit technique consumed too much celestial essence and spiritual consciousness. In addition to burning his essence blood, he also had to burn a part of his lifespan. Even if he knew that Guahauga wasn't his opponent, Ning Cheng didn't underestimate Guahauga. When Guahauga's 5 azure lotus nails broke through his domain's shackles and then struck back at him at the fastest speed, Ning Cheng became even more cautious. Sure enough, he had a few tricks up his sleeves. The surrounding space paused for a moment, and then a vacuum zone appeared. This vacuum zone was completely under Guahauga's control. Ning Cheng was also a person who had come into contact with the laws of space, so he was naturally not unfamiliar with this kind of spirit technique. Compared to Qiao Jierui's use of the 5-colored myriad connecting banner to control space, Guahauga's understanding of the laws of space was much better. Since Guahauga was able to display a spirit technique enhanced by the laws of space without using any spatial treasures, it meant that he had also come into contact with the laws of space. If he hadn't touched the laws of space, Ning Cheng could have only used the time stagnation to escape from the opponent's control of space and then counterattack. At this moment, Ning Cheng didn't even move. The middle-rank spirit artifact Long Spear drew a strange arc in the void, and the space under Guahauga's control started to tremble. It was as if someone had suddenly taken something away and disappeared without a trace. Without the cover of the exclusive space, the trajectory of the 5 azure lotus nails clearly appeared in Ning Cheng's mind. The long spear once again drew a few shadows, bringing along a series of spear patterns. The 5 azure lotus nails and the spear pattern collided, producing a series of clanging sounds. Guahauga's reaction was extremely fast. Since Ning Cheng had broken through his azure lotus dragging nails, he knew that he was definitely not Ning Cheng's opponent. Stop! Guahauga's voice was completely torn apart by Ning Cheng's spearlight, and not even a bit of it could be heard. Except for Ning Cheng, who heard Guahauga's reminder to stop, everyone else felt shocked by Ning Cheng's power. Ning Cheng didn't even have any killing intent on his face. Instead, all of his killing intent was focused on the spirit artifact Long Spear that blocked the 5 azure lotus nails. When he wanted to kill him, he had put in so much effort. But now that he saw that he didn't die, he wanted him to stop. Even if he wanted to dream, he had to dream about something realistic. Sunset's twilight. Ning Cheng took a step forward, and the long spear in his hand once again shot out. Guahauga was far stronger than ordinary eternal cultivators. Ning Cheng knew that if he wanted to kill him in a short time, he would have to use a spirit technique. He didn't want Guahauga to say the word admit defeat. Once Guahauga said that word, it would be against the rules if he killed Guahauga. How could Guahauga not know that Ning Cheng wanted to kill him? He didn't think that Ning Cheng would have such courage to kill River Luo's sacred sex's sacred son. He didn't have time to think about anything else and reached out to pat his glabella. A mere rogue cultivator, even if someone had a better understanding of the laws of space than him, couldn't kill him. As the sun set in the west and dusk arrived, a beautiful scene suddenly appeared. Guahauga suddenly felt a sense of sadness in his heart. He felt that he had lost a lot of things since he started cultivating. But life was short, and dusk was just a blink of an eye. Guahauga's palm was just a millimeter away from his glabella, but his palm suddenly stopped. He wanted this dusk to stop and not continue. He still had a lot of things to do. Dusk had truly stopped, and time had truly stopped. An ice-cold murderous intent pierced through Guahauga's palm and reached his glabella. Guahauga suddenly realized that this was a spirit technique. He had fallen into the opponent's concept-type spirit technique, which also fused with the laws of time. Ning Cheng's spear directly destroyed his trump card. Guahauga, who was on the verge of death, suddenly went crazy. His imposing aura sword, and sunset's twilight disappeared in an instant. Poof! The long spear slammed into Guahauga's glabella. Even if Guahauga's imposing aura soared, it was too late. As soon as the long spear pierced through, Guahauga's aura disappeared without a trace. No matter how powerful the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children were, once they died, they would all turn into corpses. Ning Cheng raised his hand and swept away Guahauga's things before breathing out a sigh of relief. Guahauga was much stronger than ordinary eternal cultivators. Moreover, when he used Sunset's twilight, he fused his concept-type spirit technique with the laws of time. This allowed Guahauga to remain stagnant for a longer time. But even so, Guahauga quickly woke up. Life and death were decided in a split second. Even if Guahauga woke up in time, he was still too slow. That split second was more than enough to kill him several times over. Gee, he killed Guahauga. What kind of rhythm was this? Why did he show strength far stronger than what he showed on the Grand Essence Grand Tournament stage? Several cultivators who hadn't started yet stared at Ning Cheng in shock. Ning Cheng not only killed Guahauga, but also killed him quickly and easily. Guahauga didn't even get to use his trump card before dying. How many of the cultivators who came here were muddle-headed? Immediately, everyone realized that Ning Cheng had concealed his strength. Ji Pingzhong felt a chill down his spine. He knew Guahauga's strength better than anyone else. Although Guahauga ranked 5th, he wasn't too far behind him. The strength of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children was divided into 3 tiers. The top 3 were 1 tier, which meant that these 3 people were far stronger than the others. The 4th to 7th tiers were 1 tier, while the 7th to 12th tiers were another. In fact, the gap between the other 2 tiers wasn't that big. Only the top 3 were a tier higher. Ji He, whom he initially regarded as a dead man, had killed Guahauga. Guahauga, as one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children and River Luo's sacred sex's sacred son, naturally had his own life-saving means. But when He killed Guahauga, Guahauga didn't even have to use any life-saving means. He definitely wasn't He's opponent. Ji Pingzhong immediately sobered up and calmed down. Yin Ying's attention was initially focused on the fight between Lu Yixian and Aiden. Aiden, in particular, gave her an elusive feeling. But after Ning Cheng killed Guahauga in a short time, Yin Ying's gaze immediately fell on Ning Cheng. She suddenly felt that it wasn't just Aiden who was elusive. This Ning felt just as strange as she did. Yan Xishuang and Mu Shuifeng were still fighting. Ning Cheng could see that Yan Xishuang had the upper hand, but he didn't care about it. Instead, he looked at Ji Pingzhong. When Ji Pingzhong saw Ning Cheng's gaze sweep over, he felt a chill in his heart. However, he didn't dare to speak. Ning Cheng walked up to Ji Pingzhong and spoke without any hurry, "Which stone door are you going to choose?" Ji Pingzhong secretly clenched his fists and resisted the urge to attack. Then, he walked to the 10th stone door and spoke, "I choose this stone door." Compared to spirit essence transformation, staying alive was naturally more important. What's more, even if he entered the 10th stone door, he wouldn't necessarily not be able to transform spirit essence. He was still young and didn't want to lose his life in this place. The Grand Essence's 12 sacred children weren't too old. Once you exceeded a certain age, no matter how strong you were, you wouldn't have the qualifications to be selected as one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. Ji Pingzhong chose the 10th stone door mainly because he didn't want to participate in the competition for the stone door. Generally, cultivators who chose the 10th stone door weren't allowed to be challenged, because there was no reason for them to challenge. Of course, if the background of the two challengers was too different, the other party might just challenge and kill you. Ning Cheng didn't know about this rule. He just smiled and walked towards the 10th stone door. He looked up at the groove on the stone door and said, "I also choose this stone door." "Let's do it." Blue veins bulged on Ji Pingzhong's forehead. He chose the 10th stone door, which was tantamount to admitting defeat. Yet, Ning Cheng still chased after him. This meant that he wanted to kill him. No one spoke up for Ji Pingzhong at this time. Everyone could already see Ning Cheng's strength. In this place, there was no such thing as background. Even if one wanted to talk about a background, they would have to wait until they got out of this place. Ning Cheng now made it clear that he wanted to kill Ji Pingzhong. So who would want to stand up? "What the hell do you want?" Ji Pingzhong resisted the humiliation in his heart. He was ranked 4th among the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children. No matter where he went, he would always be the object of respect. But at this time, a rogue cultivator had forced him to such a point. If word got out that he, one of the Grand Essence's 12 sacred children, was forced into a fight by a rogue cultivator, not to mention him, even his sect wouldn't have any face left. Although Ji Pingzhong felt angry, he remained calm in his heart. He could lose face, but he couldn't lose his life. He felt sure that as long as he fought with Ning Cheng, there was a 90% chance that he would follow in Guohauge's footsteps. He couldn't afford to gamble. He would kill this rogue cultivator in front of him, but not now. Instead, he would wait until he completed the spirit essence transformation. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.